Yo, 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 YouTube. How you doing tonight? We're going to do another live stream. We had a pretty good response from last week's where I had my buddy Charlie on. Charlie does a great job on the channel in discussions, so we thought we'd try it again this week. Maybe try to make it a regular thing. So this week's topics, and Charlie's having a little bit of a tech issue, so you're going to have to deal with just me for a bit. But um, Charlie hit a selling milestone this week as a new seller. So I want him to tell you all about that. I have a few tips to share on listing, something that I kind of just learned or at least realized in application how effective it is since I tried doing it myself. And let's see, what else was the big topic? Oh, we've got some mail day share. I don't have a ton today, but Charlie has quite a bit. So hopefully he can get on here pretty soon and um, we can get him talking about his stuff too. So, but the first thing I wanted to talk about, just because it's been sort of a main topic in a lot of conversations the last day or two, is live selling platforms. So I recently got approved for Whatnot to be a seller. I had set up a buyer account a little while ago. As a seller, for those of you who don't know, if you want to sell on Whatnot, they actually have some requirements of you. You obviously have to verify your driver's, send them your driver's license, all that kind of stuff, because they're going to send you payments. Um, Buyers will pay and then they will pay you, and they would have to 1099 you and all that good stuff. I'll fix my hat here a little bit. Hey, Bargain Boxer, back with us. American Arbitrage, welcome, welcome. Thanks, everybody. Well, looks like we might have Charlie in here now. Let me see if I can get him in.
I'm
Hey,
here.
we got a Charlie. We got a Charlie.
Got a little
Hey, are
technology.
you using your phone then, or what are you using?
I am working a backup laptop I had.
Oh
Um,
boy.
yeah. So just as I got in, I see a PC hardware diagnostics screen behind me on my normal laptop, and
Okay.
I am literally weeks away from a brand new laptop. But it looks
Mm.
like it maybe it's mad that I've been talking about a new piece of equipment, and it's being a little temperamental.
Oh man, that yeah. Technology is great when it works, right? And we're pretty lost when it doesn't.
Yep.
Do you have your mic set up
I
with
do.
this one? Or?
I do. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's a
The
little bit
audio
hard to hear
okay?
you, so
Okay.
can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfect.
Okay.
How about now? Is that any better?
Yep, that's a little better.
Okay, I
That's a little
turned it
better.
up a little.
People in the chat, shout out if obviously we are no tech gurus, as you can tell by how we perform on the technology side of things at times. But yeah, feel free to have some input. We want to make sure everybody can hear us and see us and all that good stuff. Maybe you don't want to see us. I don't know. I kind of have a face for radio, right? But
Very
um,
nice.
you're gonna have to. Hey, thanks, Bargain Boxer. I appreciate it. Bargain Boxer says he just watched my video. He doesn't miss any of them, so that's great to hear. It's so. Before we get into the eBay thing, I want to touch just a tad on YouTube. Um, it's not all the glory that people think it is. It's a lot of work and a lot of time and effort, and you kind of expose yourself a little bit, and there's always trolls and all that kind of stuff. So I really like getting some of the feedback and positive comments. I get messages pretty regularly from people. Hey, I watched your channel and it gave me some tips, and now I sell some cards on my own and made some money. So that's the whole reason I did it. I wanted to get away from all the channels that were just spewing the buy the base card, grade it, sell it for $1,000, which was great during the pandemic, not so much anymore. To give everybody another avenue. So just kind of the high view version of why I do YouTube. But yeah, I really appreciate the comment and watching the videos. So now, Charlie, when before you came on, I was kind of doing my best to entertain the crowd, if you will. And I had made a mention that you had an announcement tonight that you hit your first selling milestone on eBay. Would you like to share that about that a little bit?
I did. And now everything is at scale, right? So
Sure.
I talked last week that I've been selling for about 2 months now. Not anywhere near the numbers you have, but I like to celebrate each little success as it comes along. So as of last night, late last night, I sent out a couple of offers that were accepted, and I surpassed my first 100 sales on eBay. So, granted, that is not a huge number. I get it, but it's a
No,
start of
that's great.
something.
That's great. And I and I get this once in a while from people who get really excited to jump into this and do it. I think that's great, but you do have to get some pace about it. There is a lot of things to pick up and learn. You didn't have a thermal printer, you didn't really understand standard envelope. There's some things that you really kind of got to get down before you start selling 1,000 cards a day and
Right.
listing 500 cards a day. Um, I saw Bargain Boxer made a post that asking you if you use Card Dealer Pro. So I don't know if you even know what that is, but
Um,
I'm
I've
assuming that's not something you're using.
Yeah, I am not using it. I have heard of it a few times. I've not checked into it in real detail. Is it something you use, Adam?
I do not, and I don't for a couple of reasons. First of all, I sell low dollar cards. I don't think that most of them necessarily need to be scanned. So you see every little tiny blemish here and there. Somebody's paying $1 for a common FARF card. I'm not going to send them something trashed by any means, but
Mhm.
um, I just haven't felt the need to do it. And again, I think by listing on my own, it kind of paces me a bit instead of when I
True.
scan 10,000 cards and I'm going to pump all those in there at one time. Um, but I know lots of people who use Card Dealer Pro, and it is a big time saver, and it does allow you to list a lot of things. You have to get a really good scanner
Yeah.
because when you scan those images, you need that. Oh, he said American Arbitrage says he's used it without a scanner. I thought you had to have a scanner for it, but anyway, I think if you're going to go to that, paying a monthly service fee for a listing program,
Yeah.
I think you'd want the scanner because the whole goal of that program is to not just list in bulk, but it reads kind of what you're trying to list and it
Right.
puts that information in there. And then you can kind of go clean it up and stuff. I hear the accuracy rate is somewhere between 80-85%. So which isn't too bad considering how many cards are out there.
Right.
But I'm kind of fortunate in the fact that during the day I can list cards, so I just always have a stack with me, and I find it real easy to use my phone. I kind of template anyway because I sort of build off of a previous listing and just update, the player and the year and the set
Yeah.
and take a couple photos and upload it. And I can do a few hundred a day, most days that way. I mean, some days I don't list hardly anything, um,
Yeah.
but
I
yeah.
feel
So
like,
that's not something that I felt like I've gotten into. I have about 27,000 listings now, and I've been doing this well, like truly being an online dealer for maybe a little less than 2 years.
mhm.
So I feel like if I can get 12,000 on a year, I'm doing okay. So,
Right. And
it's just something, it's whatever works best for you. I also really don't want to pay the monthly fee. Like
right.
if it's 60-70 bucks a month, and a lot of times I'm only making 50 cents to a
Yeah.
dollar a card. I mean, that's 120 of my card, super low end card sales that, is getting eaten up by that program. And that doesn't include, purchasing an expensive scanner and things like that.
Right. And that's some of the reasons I haven't really pursued it at all. It certainly markets right. Like there's a draw to it, right? If it works
Yeah.
well, it can save you a lot of time.
Yep.
For me, just starting out, I'm still looking at trying to keep my operation costs low, and that means that when I look at something like that and a scanner and things like that, it's really about, are my sales justifying that at this point?
Right.
And I feel like they're
Right.
really not yet.
Right.
I still have some intermittent days where I don't have any sales, right? Like I'll have 4 today, 0 tomorrow, 7 the next
Yeah.
day. Until those are a little more consistent, where I feel like, man, my inventory keeps dwindling and I can't get new listings out there
Right,
fast enough. That's
right.
when I'll probably look
That
to invest in the next level.
that's a good problem to have. That would be
Yes.
a huge sell-through rate.
Yes.
Which is another thing that you'll hear about a lot. We'll save that topic for another show. But sell-through rate is part of it too. If my let's just take a random number here. If my sell-through rate is 2% and I list 100 cards, I'm only selling 2 of those cards right away anyway. So I'm not
Right.
like way behind on the listing game or anything like that. Now, that being said, I also took a while before I got a thermal printer. I actually had a viewer send me a thermal printer as a gift, which was pretty amazing. And just a note with it that said, "Here, stop listing or stop, printing these orders on sheets of paper and cutting them out. Use this thing." So, and that's obviously a game changer. That's a
Right.
super must have. If you plan to get any orders, you're going to have to ship them. So, you need a solid way to do that.
Right. Right.
So, now
Yeah.
this next question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that I do also sometimes mess around with the way I list my cards as well. So I started out just snapping pictures with my phone. I do have just a combo printer scanner here at
Mhm.
home, and I did try to scan some cards as well, and I did that for a while. Um, it works a lot better for your base cards that are not refractors
Right. The
or
unshiny stuff.
foils and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
But it was, in reality, it was just as much effort for me to get it lined up in the scanner, crop it, as it was
Mhm.
for me to take a pic with my phone and post it right on my phone. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my process that I use. Is I did buy a little studio box. It's probably
Like a
foot and
photo
a half.
box.
Yeah, like a foot and a half
Yeah.
by foot and a half box.
Mhm.
So I can get a good picture in there. I snap it with my phone, and with the eBay app, I just list it right out there. And I've stopped using my scanner at all.
Yeah. I also kind of have this fear that because sometimes I'm listing, like, let's say it's a vintage card I want to list, right?
Hmm.
Well, I don't list those in quantity because each card is so individual because of printing and condition and all that. So I have this fear that, okay, let's say I've got 10 here. Here's an example. I've got some Walter Paytons I was just listing. So let's say I've got where the heck did I put them? Oh, they're right here. So let's say I've got 2 of these second year Walter Paytons. Well, if I'm still figuring out which way do I have to go to get the camera. Um, hey, it's like I'm new here, right? But let's say I scan both of these in. How do I remember which one is which? And I don't know. I feel like I would maybe create more work for myself to some degree than, and I certainly don't want an error. Like, if I want these cards are, $40 a piece, 35, $40 a piece. I don't want to send the wrong one.
Yeah.
They're both in pretty good shape. It's not like anything's obvious sticks out where it's like, oh, well, this is the ratty one and this is the brand new from pack one. The conditions are generally fairly similar. It's just little
Right.
minor things. Because even when I pull these cards to do the order, I pull up the one that's sold and I look for, oh, there's this little tiny pen mark right there. This is the one that I ship. I want my customers to get exactly what they're saying on the screen.
Yeah,
And
that's
because
my
that's so
concern.
important to me, and the customer service side is so important to me.
Yeah. When
And
I
to some
list
degree, I
quantity
feel like,
volume ones, I worry about that.
yeah, yeah. And to some degree, I feel like the scanning of cards is not as personal. That might sound really weird, but it's the internet is hard to make a connection with someone on anyway. I feel like if I took the time to take a photo of that card front and back, I've got there's when somebody looks at that, they're going, well, that's not just a stock photo, right?
Right.
There's a lot of
Right.
resellers that just go and grab, well, I sell, Red Bull. So they take a stock photo of a case of Red Bull and they post it on, and granted, that's not the type of item where condition is generally going to matter or anything like
Right.
that. Maybe expiration date, but um, I don't know. I want to try to find a few ways to add some personal connection to my cards and the cards that I list. And
Yeah.
I think that I can kind of get around the scanner part with that. Now, if I get to like a million listings, and and I'm hiring people, if something goes hog wild, maybe that would be something that I would definitely have to consider then at that point, especially if I have other people doing the work, because
Right.
they're gonna, I'm gonna want them to get the work done in as timely as possible because I'm paying them. So
Right.
we'll see. That might be that's a future me problem. So,
Yeah. Again,
but I
nice
want to bring
problem to
this.
have.
Yeah, exactly. I have this comment on here for a little bit now with Bargain Boxer. Said he's here for the tips and tricks to get sales picked up on old inventory. So that was something that I used to kind of promote our show tonight. So I don't want to hold it up too much longer, so we can get to that a little bit. Um, but I've got something that I've been trying the past couple days, and maybe I'll do a screen share on this too, so you can see it. This is nothing that I invented by any means, but I've been watching some other reseller channels, and when you're around for a while, like if you've had stuff that's been listed for a couple of years and it hasn't sold, it's hard to get any juice behind it and get people to see it. Um, and most of my really old listings are farv cards because that's literally all I was dealing in at first. And I want to move some of that stuff. I have a lot of the, as you saw, Charlie, I have probably 25, 26,000 farv cards that
You
I got to
do.
move. Not
Yeah.
not PC stuff, just stuff that I want to sell. So what I do now is I go to my oldest listings. Okay, so if you go, you have to. I do this on a laptop desktop, so not mobile, not the mobile app. But I pull up the listings, and it'll list 200 listings on the first page.
Correct.
Those for 200 are the oldest listings that you have on the website. Um, So let me back this up a little bit. The way it used to work was you would list, and then after 30 days, the item would end, and you'd have to relist, and then it would be a new listing. That's how it used to work. Now it's all good till canceled, so it just stays on there forever. Problem is that doesn't go back into new listings at the end of that 30 days. So anyway, my point is, so I go back and I look at my listings, and I've got lots of nice farm graded cards. There's some decent stuff in there, but it just hasn't had eyes on it in a while and haven't made the sales. So what you do is you end those listings. Now, the way I did it so that I don't screw it up and remove listings I want to still be there and so forth, I just end the 200 on that page. Then what I do is I go into ended listings. It only lets you do 50 at a time, but I click on the first 50. I guess you could go to the second page and add more or whatever, but I just do them 50 at a time because sometimes when you're using eBay to do a bunch of listings at one time, it kind of messes up. So 50, I feel like it gets through pretty well. But anyway, so I go back and I grab those first 50 and I hit the sell similar button, okay, which essentially is copying the information from those previous listings into brand new listings. And then you list them. It's going to be free because you get 60, I get like 70,000 free listings with my store. So you wouldn't want to do this if like you're limited listings or anything. But if you have plenty of listing space, because it does count as a listing for you. But anyway, so I'll relist those 50 items. Now those 50 show up as brand new listings. They get the new listing tag on them. eBay is gonna, push them out a little bit. There's a lot of people who search by new listings first, and it really gets some good eyes on it. And I've seen sales. I have cards that I've had on there for 2 years that I haven't sold one copy of, and I sold a few of them. So um, hopefully my sale day tomorrow should show some of that. I sold a pretty good PSA card that had been sitting there for a bit. I had it listed at 75. I got an offer for 60 or 65, and I took it. It had been sitting there that whole time. Relisted it. It sold within like 20 minutes. So just a great tip. Doesn't cost you anything. Takes a little bit of time. And then what you have to do once you relist that or sell similar, then you have to delete that listing because you don't want to leave it in your ended listings. You only want your ended listings to contain listings that you would relist or sell similar, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you'd end 200 of them. You take the first 50, hit sell similar, list them, then you delete those 50. Okay, so you got 150 left to go. Take the next 50. Oh, excuse me. Take the next 50, sell similar, list it, delete those 50, like permanently delete them because you don't want I'd rather have something not listed than something listed twice,
Right.
if that makes sense. I'd
Absolutely.
rather not sell something than have to back out and not be able to complete a sale. So,
Yeah.
um, so that's my major trip for selling old inventory. The other thing you can do is just the totally old school way and just take that listing down and create a whole new one. But if you're doing, if you've got a quantity, like I could do a couple hundred of those every day or every other day, and it doesn't really impact um, my time per se. I'm on eBay anyway doing some things in my account. It doesn't take much to end a few listings and sell similar a few of them. Um, now you wouldn't have to do this with every listing. You could go back and cherry pick them. Some people don't want to do the sell similar because what'll happen is let's say you had a quantity of 100 of them and 25 have sold. The fact that you have a listing that has 25 sold also puts you in the algorithm for a better promotion for sales because your item is selling, right? At a quantity. When you go to the sell similar, it's not going to have that sale history in it. So there's definitely some plus and minus to it, like everything else. But I've found some success in it, and I'm going to continue to use it. Um, it's not against eBay policy. It does count as a listing, but that can be to your credit too, because you should list a certain amount every day to also keep your traffic. So let's say you have a day where you're like, oh, crap, I can only list like 2 listings today. I know, I'll go cancel 50 of my oldest listings and I'll list those. Then I got 52 listings for the day. So it can kind of help you, meet some of those goals a little bit. You're not increasing your listings by any means because you're just taking something down, putting it back up. But um, I'm curious if anybody else has done that and had any experience with that.
I know I haven't gotten to that point yet, so I do have some older listings now from my first couple weeks of listing. I've got some 2012 opening day superstar celebrations out there. I was looking at today, some Ian Kinslers, Justin Uptons, things like that.
Yep.
That it's not a huge hobby out there, but they're kind of cool inserts. And I thought, well, these. Oh, Bernie.
It's yours. It's
I'll
yours.
get
I
them.
was gonna Bernie it, but then I thought, well, I'll save it for my brewer buddy here.
Yeah, I
The
appreciate
one
that.
mascot I pull, and it's got to be the Brewers. So
But anyway, on those older listings, they're about a month and a half old, right? So
mhm.
they're at the top of my list from old listings. So as you said earlier, if you don't have the free listings, which I don't, well, I get what is it, 240, 250 a month, something like
Yeah.
that. So I'm limited.
You
So
don't. I just want to just one quick second, just so everybody on the watching knows too. You don't have a store at all yet, correct? Okay,
negative.
so
I do
you're
not.
just going off the average or the starting seller random
Correct.
listings they give you to try to get you going. Okay.
Yep, I
Okay.
am a noob. I'm an eBay noob.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And that's why I
and
like this chat. That's why this chat is important.
yeah. So the steps that I look at, which I guess I'm assuming they're kind of standard, but I'm glad we talk about this because maybe I find out I'm missing out on something. But really, the first thing I do is I go back and I look at the item specifics, and I think, are there some that I didn't fill in that I can quickly fill in? Because the more specifics that you list than fill in, I
Correct.
believe that helps you in the algorithm.
Correct.
So when I'm listing on my phone and I'm in a rush, I might not put the card material. I might not put the language, things like
Right.
that. Those are the first things I go back to when it's been sitting in a
Mhm.
while, and I just plug those in so that I can hopefully fill that little circle up that says,
Yep.
you got it. You got them all. Second thing I look at is the item name. So maybe when I listed it, it made sense to me that this is going to hit most searches. But maybe a month and a half later, I look at it and I say, you know what? Maybe I should have added this detail or that detail, assuming I have the characters for it, or remove something.
Sure.
There's some cards I put out there that I put the player's nickname or something, like the Mick or something like that. And I've gone back and I said, you know what? I'm going to take that out. I don't know that's the best use of that space. And then I'll make another run at it with those listings. Of course, there's the price adjustments as well, but being at the
Yep.
low end, you can only go down so far. We talked about it
Mhm.
last time. I think you gotta make at least $1.20 or something like to cover all your
Buck
selling costs.
29. That's my goal. Yep. Buck 29
Yeah,
is the lowest.
yeah.
Yep.
Now if
So
those
for all
don't
of you who are
work,
offering $1, no, can't do it.
but mine's a little lower because I don't have the store, right? So I don't have that
Right.
expense to
Right.
build into my costs either. But so ultimately, though, the final stage in my mind is when we talk about our 10-cent box or quarter box or
Yep.
something, right? If it's been out there, you've tried all these things, there has to be a point where you say it's time to pull it down and put it in the
Yep.
box.
Yep.
And I'm curious, when do you do that? You know, you talked about having something out there for a year. I'm not
Mhm.
anywhere near that. But I start to get a little jittery at this point. It's a month and a half. I don't have
Yeah.
many views on this item. I don't have anybody watching and it hasn't
Yep.
sold. What do I need to do different? Or is there just not a market for that on
Mhm.
eBay? And I need to pull it down and try to sell it locally to just recover, a base cost.
Yep. So this is the way I look at it. Two things you touched on, and experience. This is talking from my experience portion of it. As far as pricing, I used to do that too. Go back and go, oh crap, this player got hurt. I got to drop the prices. They're not hot anymore. Or they lost in the playoffs or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do any of that. What I did was I went back and I turned on best offer on all my cards.
Mm-hmm.
So if the card should be $5 and I still got it, listed at $10, someone comes in, makes me an offer at 5. Great. That's right. That's the right price for it. They feel like they got a little better deal. I got, the value of where it is currently today. Everybody's happy, right? I didn't have to do
Right.
any extra work on it and so forth. Does that mean that I might miss some views because my item is priced a little bit higher? Sure. But when, like I said, I have 26,000 listings, I can't go back and dig into, really individual listings.
Right.
As far as the dime box and the quarter box goes, none of those are cards that I've pulled out of my store. They're cards that went directly into those boxes. So when I'm sorting cards, like if I buy a lot, like I just bought that big lot of vintage stuff, I literally created an entire dime and quarter box out of just that lot I bought.
Yep.
So I'll keep the Chris Collinsworth rookies and the Walter Payton, and that kind of stuff that's obviously doesn't belong in a 10-cent box and quarter box. Steve Largent's and, Roger Staubach's, the obvious names that will always have some hobby. The rest of it goes in my dime and quarter box, and that's the end of it. When you're talking current players, I think that's where the challenge comes in, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you could have, oh, this guy was drafted as a quarterback, but he plays behind Drew Bledsoe. He's never going to play. Well, how did that work out?
Yeah.
199th pick in the draft. You ain't going to leave, Brady rookie cards in your quarterbacks. Unless I'm looking through your quarterbacks. Then you leave the Brady rookie cards in the quarterback. So that's a little different when you're talking like current player cards and things. You have to, like for example, I just bought that box of Big League. You take the rookies out of it. You would never I never put any rookie cards in a dime box or a quarter box.
Right.
Of active players, because there's always some
Right.
opportunity for them to get to the next level, and you don't want to lose them in a dime and quarter box.
Agreed. Even like prospects too. Like right now, I've got a bunch of prospects from 21, 22 that I'm like, just gonna set these aside and hold them for a while. Let's see what these
Yeah.
guys do.
Yep. Yeah, and you can still list those. I mean, it's like, for example, I had a couple of Brock Purdy rookie cards before he was a thing this year. I mean, he was essentially third string because
Yeah.
you had Trey Lance was playing first, and then it was going to be Jimmy G playing if Trey Lance couldn't, and then all of a sudden this Brock Purdy guy gets in. Well, those were listed in my store but hadn't sold, and as soon as he kind of got the starting nod, won the first game and things like that, I had to go in and adjust those prices. So I'm not saying I totally ignore everything I previously listed by any means. Especially basketball. Basketball is one of those weird ones where everybody, all the draft picks are really hot when they, if they're in that 13 lottery, and then they kind of fade away when they're not the team star, and then they get traded all the time. And now some random team like the Nuggets is in the playoffs and plays really well. Now you got this guy who, people are actually seeing play because nobody
Right.
watches basketball in the regular season. They only watch the playoffs.
That's me.
Well, it's true. Yeah, I hear that a lot. You hear that a ton, even from card collectors and stuff.
Yeah.
So the part of that is just kind of knowing the hobby, knowing the sports a little bit, knowing the time frames. Soccer is a tough one for me because there's so many different leagues and I don't know a lot of the players. I can't even pronounce half of the names.
Yeah.
So I have to kind of watch it a little bit. Now, that being said, I would never price a card in my store unless it was for profit. So let's say I bought a pack of cards. I didn't know all the players in it, but I paid 50 cents a card and I list the card at $2 and it sells. I made money on the card. You
Right.
can't be greedy. You don't go broke when you take profit. So
Right.
you have to really kind of rewind yourself a little bit on that one and try to make sure you're not um, trying to get every penny out of everything. As a matter of fact, I posted my sales day video this morning, and I had a couple of the rookies from Big League in there. They weren't big names or anything. They were the base ones. I sold them at $2 a piece.
Yeah.
Those cards are so cheap when you buy them. I think you pay what, like 28 cents a card or something like that.
Yeah.
When you open a box, I got $2 a piece for prospects big name prospects. Their odds are extremely low of doing anything. No name prospects, there aren't a lot of Mike Trouts just sitting out there. That's not a
Right.
real thing. So
Well, and
I
the neat thing about prospects, I heard somebody talking about this just earlier this week. Mike Trout was like, mid.
he was
He was a later.
bottom of the first round, I believe.
Yeah, like it
Yeah.
wasn't. He wasn't a sure thing top
No.
prospect, and
Mm-mm.
he became a generational player, right?
Right.
So the hype cycle is so pumped up on prospects these days.
Yeah.
But the reality is the guy at the end of the first round or the beginning of the third round might be that next generational player.
He might. And one of those cards that I just sold, he might be the next generational player. But
Mhm.
I made a profit on the card. Like,
Yeah,
you see what I mean? Yeah, yeah. I can take that profit and I can get something else. I can,
right.
that's a tough one. And I don't play a ton of baseball, as you know, in the
Mhm.
prospecting market, but I've done this for enough years to know that you sell as many of the prospects the year they came out as you possibly can.
Sure.
If you pull a Mike Trout card and 100 other prospect cards out of a Bowman box and you sell them all at $3 a piece or whatever the heck Bowman, junk prospects go for,
Right.
low first round picks go for on average, you're still going to make as much money as if you sold just the Trout card now. And
Right.
all those other prospects aren't worth anything because they never went anywhere in 10
Exactly.
years.
Yeah.
So, and I
You're
get my
right.
money right away. I don't have to wait for this guy to baseball. That's the other problem with baseball is their first Bowman card comes out 4 years before they ever see a major league pitch. Well, I don't want to
Yeah.
hold on to a card for 4 years if I can make something on it now. So
See, and
there's nothing wrong with that. I know guys who have just 5,000 count boxes of Bowman prospects,
right.
just
Right.
waiting for the Bobby Witt to pop or whatever. And,
Yep.
great. That's great if that's how you want to play.
Yep.
That's just not my game.
And I do some of that. I hold some of those prospects, but at the same time, I try to make educated, hedged bets on some guys. We talked last time about the concept of once a guy displays a skill, he always has that skill, right?
Yep. Yep.
So guys that I've seen consistent success in the minor leagues, I'm willing to hold on to them more than some of the fly by night prospects that come through some of these sets.
Sure.
Those absolutely I do want to sell right away.
Yeah.
But the other thing too that I look for in some of those kind of a late prospecting tactic, and this ties into a question we had about some of the cards we're buying up and holding on to right now, is I like to buy some of those hot prospects after they make their break into the big leagues, but don't meet the hype level. So whether it's
Sure.
injuries
Yeah.
or competition, something was blocking their way. So a guy that I think of that fits that description right now, Jared Kelenic. He's a
Mhm.
guy that I started buying up this preseason in camps to say, I think he's got the ability. He's fought some injuries.
Mm-hmm.
If he gets the opportunity, he may run with it and blow up. Or Royce
Yeah.
Lewis, guys like that. Like, I will take a chance on those guys, see what they're doing by the All-Star break, and then I make a decision. Okay, keep going or dump them.
Yep. And you brought up a good point. Sometimes the prices are actually higher than when they actually get to the major leagues.
Yeah.
They get to the major leagues, if they don't have 4 home runs in that first game, well, the guy went 1 for 4 with a single and that's it, and made a
Yeah.
base running error, because rookies do that kind of crap, especially with
Mm-hmm.
the way rules have changed.
Mm-hmm.
And now everybody's dumping them for half price. I'm like, the guy made it to the bigs. You literally won the lottery, because most of those guys you bought are never going to make it,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a very interesting market. And I think that's one of the reasons I stuck pretty heavily to football too. It seemed like the game was a lot easier. I could just buy
Yeah.
the top quarterbacks and that was it, and you made money on it every single time.
I'd agree with you.
You don't get the home runs. You don't get a Trout for $1 this year and he's $200 next year.
Right.
Generally, Purdy was maybe the exception. There's a few players that are exceptions to that. Brady, obviously, he was in a lot of. I can remember back in 2000 flipping through stacks of Tom Brady Bowman rookie cards, which in my head is insane now, but he was behind a guy who was an all-star player, went to a Super Bowl, um, fairly young age. Brady was a bad pick, low pick, didn't really
Yeah.
have a lot of, like you said, those riding the
Expectation.
bike type skills. He didn't have a huge arm. He couldn't run. There wasn't
Yeah.
anything to really, other than the fact that he played for the Patriots, that you usually get a pretty good shot at some wins if you play for the Patriots. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know. That's kind of where I've gone. Basketball is, like I said, until it really gets to the playoffs, it's really hard to see what those prices will do on some of those cards. As for Brad's comment here about him buying Jalen Hurts and the Eagles with their good draft, I don't think you can go wrong with that if you're getting the Hurts stuff at a decent price. His stuff has gone up. I kind of feel the same way about Trevor Lawrence. I picked up some nice Trevor Lawrence stuff last year.
Yep. I'm on Trevor Lawrence as well.
Yeah, I took some trades and did some stuff like that to get some Lawrence stuff, which is not something I normally do, but I just think he plays in a terrible division. They're going to win the division.
Yeah.
He's in the AFC, which makes it tough because you got to get through the Bills and the Chiefs, and the Jets have some random quarterback now, and stuff like that. So I think he has that type of challenge. But I think if they can win the division a lot of years in a row, and he can sneak a few playoff game wins in there, I think his stuff's pretty solid.
That's the thing that makes him a buy for me. And I haven't gotten a lot of Jalen Hurts yet. I've got a few. I need to get some more. The reason I haven't is because during the playoff run, I felt like his cards spiked up and it wasn't a good buying time for me.
Yep.
But now in the offseason, with the loss in the Super Bowl, they came back down a little bit. But here's the thing I would say about Jalen Hurts that makes him a buy. Comparatively, if you look at Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert. Justin Fields, Joe Burrow, you look at those guys and their prices versus what they're doing on the field. And I would say those guys are all overpriced, and Hurts is the value play here. So I would say buy on Hurts, and you're going to get a good return on him, I think.
Yeah, if you can get him for the right price. That's I've talked with you about that a few times. You did say, hey, do you think this card will sell? And I said, you can make money on any single card that's ever been made if you can get it for the right price. I can buy penny cards and put them in my dime box.
Yeah.
That's not big money, but it's 10x your price. And, if somebody buys it, I made some money on it.
Yeah.
If I don't, then, I got a penny tied up, so be it. I can get more than a penny's worth of fire out of that wood if I burn the card.
Right.
And I'm going to get some hate comments from that one. Don't burn cards. Arbitrage makes a good point here. Kind of what we said. Whenever a guy gets called up, I sell that card because he's so right. It's all based on that hype, and that's why I'd rather just sell these guys when they're just prospects right now and not doing anything. If I can get a couple bucks for them, I'm happy with that. I'd rather hold the parallel Trout card and the insert
Yeah.
Otani stuff. I'd rather keep that because those guys are gold in the long run.
Yeah.
Um, and same thing now, kind of talking about Hurts. I obviously buy most of my football this time of year because of it being the off season. And honestly, I've just been buying a lot of Mahomes. I mean, that guy is just he's a sure thing. And
Yeah.
in the AFC, as stacked as the AFC is, I still don't see any of those teams beating the Chiefs.
Here's the thing
Um,
about the prospects, though, Adam, and I get what you guys are saying, and by and large, I want to sell a lot of them. But it goes back to my 3 Fs I talked about last week, right? The fun,
yep, yep.
finances, and family. Part of the fun for me, the only reason I really do the prospecting is almost like that gambling aspect of, can I get it right? Can
Right.
I get the right guy
Yeah.
based on my research and what I know
Yep.
about the game of baseball, which I played as well? So I feel like, whenever you've played a sport, whether it's at high levels or even just low levels competitively like me, you feel like, man, I should know how to pick some winners out of this.
Hmm.
And that's part of the fun and the excitement for me. No different than putting some money into a slot machine, right?
Yeah, I 100% agree. If you want to play some gamble side or some fantasy side, baseball cards by far are the best of all the
Yeah.
sports,
Yeah.
because you get that huge shot in the dark kind of thing. Um, yeah, I was specifically speaking about turning a dollar. When
Yeah.
we're looking at the profit side of things, it it is extremely. It is by far the riskiest thing you can
It
purchase in the
is.
sports card market is baseball prospects.
Yep.
Maybe some soccer prospects too, because they get signed pretty young and they might never make it anywhere, and there's so many teams and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Um, but
Well, and
I
let me level set too to give full disclosure. I'm not out there spending $300 on a Bowman
right, right,
2023 Bowman hobby
right,
box because I am a low end card seller and low end buyer for the most part, right?
sure,
So I will
sure,
get some of my blasters. I'll buy some individual cards to chase after some of those prospects. But
yep,
I don't think any of us that have talked about this disagree that it is by far, a tough investment if you're going out there buying boxes and boxes of prospects
yeah,
because 98% of them are not going to be, probably 85% of them never make the majors. And then
yeah.
another 10% make it as a average, replacement player. And then you've got a very few amount of generational talents.
And you make a good point. I think it's actually true in all the sports, right? So we in football, you can pretty much only buy quarterbacks to make any real money on.
Let's
There's
get in.
32 quarterbacks in the whole league. You know,
Yep.
you can buy every single one of the drafted quarterbacks this year. Not a single one of them might play, or have a real career out of it. Um, so yeah, I don't know. That's why I like buying Mahomes and Brady and LeBron and Kobe and like there's some really nice low end cards of those players, and
Yeah.
it's just it's easy flip. You buy them in quantity because you don't have to worry about the risk. You know what you got, and the stuff just keeps moving.
Right.
Especially like I said, if you can get it for the right price.
Yep.
American Arbitrage says a nickel every day over a slow dime for me, which is basically what I was trying to say. Where if I can get the sale and I can make something on it, I'm going to take it. I'll worry about the next deal when I get to the next deal.
Right.
Um, let's see. Problem with quarterbacks is they have 7 Super Bowl wins already baked into their prices. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it kind of goes back to what I said that being a quarterback in the NFL is extremely rare. So if you get a starting job, you're one of 32 guys and that's it. And there's a lot of collectors and investors in football cards. It's going to pump those prices.
Right.
And I kind of agree with him on this comment too that he thinks Hurts is overpriced. He saw a pretty good run up last year for obvious reasons, and he hasn't really gone down much, even though they lost the Super Bowl and all that. I agree they had a good draft. They're in the NFC, which is not a difficult conference by any means, especially now Rodgers is gone, and you take out some of the um, possible losses to a team like that, and you got something there. But Yeah, I mean, at this point, if you buy Hurts, you're not prospecting. He's a thing. So,
Yeah, he's a known commodity.
yeah. So I think you're going to need him to win a Super Bowl for any of that stuff to go up.
And I
I
think
think
that's
him
going to
just
happen. That's just me.
yeah, and
As a
that's why you would buy
right.
and pay whatever it's at now because that is what you believe.
Yeah.
I believed I was buying Mahomes rookies, which of course turned out to be a good idea. But I was like, there's no way this guy can't win a Super Bowl. Just watching him. I mean, he's throwing the ball left-handed, and the guy was just insane. Like he
Yeah.
had a great team and a good coach, and everything was right there. So yeah, I was paying. I remember I bought my first optic rookie for $50, which is now like $550 or something. So I mean, a pretty insane gain. And at the time, it was like you're paying $50 for a rookie card, and this kid's only played 3 games.
Yeah.
I did because I was just getting back into the hobby at that time. Luckily, it was in 2017, and he was kind of the new thing coming in, and it was excitement. So I bought some stuff, and
The challenge for me is just that entry point for football, though. It's so much higher than baseball,
yeah,
and it's just
but it's
it's
less
not.
than basketball.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I think it's really important to diversify. If you're going
yeah,
to grow your store, but I also think it's important to kind of stay in your lane a bit.
yeah,
Kind of try to carry the. Me, when I buy baseball stuff, what do I buy? Lots of Ricky Henderson and
yeah,
Derek Jeter and Ichiro and
yeah,
Otani. I buy a ton of Otani, which again turned out to be a good move.
yeah,
Um, little bit of Trout, I mean, I don't think Trout's ever going to win a championship, so I'm not going heavy in on him. Otani won't either, at least not with the Angels, but he does something there's literally a rule named after Shohei Otani
yeah,
because of the DH. Can he still DH if he comes out of the game as a pitcher?
yeah,
That had to be addressed because that had never come up. So, I mean,
yeah.
I just think he touches the game in a way that another player doesn't,
I would
and that has
agree.
just a lot of value.
I would agree. That's why they make cards like this,
Right,
comboing him
right,
with a legend, right?
yeah,
Already
yeah.
at his age. Yeah.
With Babe Ruth, he's the modern Babe Ruth and whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
But you and I are kind of at opposite ends of that spectrum. So I buy a lot of new baseball because that's my
mhm.
fun factor for me a lot of times is just baseball, whatever lane of baseball I'm in. And then I go to the value boxes to get my football, my basketball, to do that
Sure,
diversification. Or this week I got some lots in of wrestling and Star Wars cards. I'm not out there buying big boxes of them, but I will stock up whenever I can find some value plays on it.
sure. Yeah, and you made a good point with the non-sports too. I think a lot of sports card dealers they like sports, so they deal in sports cards, which makes but I think the non-sports kind of gets left out of that mix, and they're great for selling at shows, and I
Yeah.
sell a ton of. I mean, if you guys watch any of my sales day videos, there's always non-sports in there. Ren and Stimpy, Star Wars, Back to the Future,
Yeah.
Pac-Man.
And if
You name it, I got. Here's some Simpsons,
you get the right
um,
price, why wouldn't you? I mean, this is
and they're cheap. And they're cheap.
230 some cards, maybe more if I remember. I paid about 20 cents a card on these.
Nice.
And I'm 100% certain I'll make my money back and then some.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think I think that it's good to expand those bounds a little bit and get it also allows you to expand your buyer pool, right? So let's
Yes.
say you got a guy who I actually do collect some Star Wars cards, just the original stuff. I like the old school 1970s stuff. And I collect Favre. Well, if a dealer has a nice Favre card and a nice Star Wars card, I'd buy both,
Right.
especially to save on shipping, whatever the case may be. And that
That's
happens a lot. I'll sell a Stranger Things card and a Joe Montana card to one buyer.
yeah.
It's not nearly as common as like sports goes to sports and but
Yeah.
but yeah, if you can grab one more buyer, that's always the right approach.
And that's a
Bargain.
classic retail selling strategy, right? That's why you see
Yep.
end caps at Target, or
Tag-ons. Yeah,
you
tag-ons.
see loss leaders in convenience stores, right? You get
Mhm.
somebody in for one thing, and then you pique their interest with something else.
Yeah. Yeah, Bargain Boxer says here he was trying to make a deal with a seller. The seller refused to sell because he didn't want to sell at today's prices and said he wanted to wait till the cards went back up. I mean, yeah, I don't know if he has a personal attachment to them or he has a lot of money tied up in them and just don't want to eat the loss. I'm not exactly sure what the motivation is there, but you definitely hear that. And again, one of the reasons I brought out my channel at the time when I did was I was trying to help people avoid this situation where they were paying all these peak prices, just thinking everything's going to go up forever,
Yeah.
which nothing goes up forever. Uh, to try to say, hey, slow it down a little bit. You can get some other cards and not take as much risk. And it's unfortunate that person feels like they can't move it now because they don't want to admit the defeat, if you will, and take the
Yeah.
loss. But sucks for you, Bargain Boxer, because it sounds like it might have been something good for you to grab and be able to resell. And that brings up a good point too. Don't just buy everything and pay whatever the price is. You need to do the math. I am a lot buyer. Whenever you see my mail day videos, I got 100 of these and 75 of these and 50 of these,
Yeah.
1,000 of these, because you have to do that. If you want to sell quantity, you got to buy quantity. So I need to get those prices down as far as I can. Now, does that mean I'll have quantity sit for a while that don't sell? Yes, but I decreased my dollar cost on all of that by buying that quantity. A lot of times, like let's say I buy a lot of, like here's an example, a lot of Mahomes, right? And you got some base cards in there that might sit a little bit. I gotta work my camera thing again. Um, but then there's like a silver parallel. I don't have anything right here, but then there's an insert that I can get $15 for, and I pay $15 for the whole lot. Well, I don't care if those other cards sit. If I sell the one card for $15, I'm break even. Those other cards cost me nothing, and consequently, you have to think about that when you go to look at offers too.
Yeah.
If I want $5 for this card and somebody offers me $4, but it's all pure profit, I literally have no cost in this anymore because I sold the other card. Yeah, take the $4. It's that nickel today
Yeah.
versus trying to get a dime tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And same thing with if you're going to be a low end dealer and offer free shipping, you got to try to get multiple card orders because that's what's going to save you on the expenses. You don't pay that extra the closing fee, the 30 cents per transaction. You don't
Yeah.
have to pay for another stamp and envelope and all that. So you really got to try it. Offer bulk discounts. I do bulk discounts. I do 5% on the second card, 10% on the third card, 15%. Any card above that, I don't know, something like that. They have, when you go in to do quantity discounts, they give you all kinds of sort of options, tiers, if you will, to price
Yeah.
them. That even if they're not buying different cards, let's say they just want 5 copies of one card, they can save a little bit of money by buying 5.
Yep.
And it's goodwill from you as the seller because I want to buy in bulk, so I get a deal. Well, why should I expect my customer to pay full price when they want to buy more than one?
Right.
Right? You could
Right.
pass some of that savings along to your buyer. You get your nickel today, which to me is more valuable than my dime tomorrow. And the buyer can get some kind of discount. Not only did that maybe convince them to buy because they could get a discount, but in the end, you're saving them some money. So everybody
Yeah.
wins.
And
It's the
and that
win-win-win.
that gives me a couple of talking points as you were going through that. One is Bargain Boxer. That's a great example of kind of the number one negotiating rule is you have to know your walkaway price. Sounds like he knew
Yeah.
he stuck to it. That's the only way you're going to turn some profit on some of these cards, right?
He definitely overpaid for those cards.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
The other thing is, waiting for cards to rebound and talking about pandemic prices. My opinion on that is likely a once in a lifetime event. That everything
Mhm.
that happened during the pandemic.
I
Can it
hope so.
happen
I don't want
again?
another
Yeah.
pandemic, do you?
No, but can it happen again? Absolutely, it could. But I would say the probability is less than 1%.
Mhm.
And if it does happen again, we all have lessons we learned in that time that make me say we're never going to see the same explosion in our lifetime that we saw during the pandemic
Yeah.
with trading cards, sports
Yep.
cards. So I mean, if someone is holding on that tight, waiting for that, I think they're going to be in trouble. Like they have
Yeah.
to let some things go.
I agree.
Just a matter of when.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So one of the other topics I put in our promotional text, if you will, for our video tonight was talking about live auction sites. So we talk a lot about eBay, and eBay is always going to be my platform. I think it's the best access to a world market. Um, but I also got approved to sell on Whatnot. I kind of started the show out with this, Charlie. You weren't on here yet. Got approved to sell on Whatnot. They do have some qualifications. You have to have some social media level. Um, you got to have some sort of regular selling platform that you're on, and so forth. And I did my first Whatnot last night. Went okay. I was just selling actually some stuff out of my basement. Um, I'm putting in I think you've seen it, Charlie, where I'm going to put that theater area there.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I had a lot of like action figures and stuff just kind of laying down there that didn't have any value to me anymore. And I said, hey, I'm going to take a box of these upstairs and Whatnot these things. So I'd rather do my trial on something that I don't need to make a profit on, whereas I feel like this stuff that I sell, I bought to sell for a profit. I want to make my best effort to that. So I just used it as a trial period, and it was a lot of fun. I sold some stuff. Things go really quick. They have a great platform in the fact that they automatically charge the buyer instantly. They give you a label to print for mailing. They you price weight and all that stuff, and it figures out shipping costs. Unfortunately, they do not have like some kind of standard envelope option, which is also kind of shying me away from doing low end cards on there. But they will bulk. So let's say you have a buyer in your Whatnot buy 3 or 4 items, they will package them together and give you one shipping label. So they make it so easy. There's hardly any time consuming effort from you to doing it other than setting up your show and actually performing whatever time frame you need to have that show. But that being said, so Whatnot and American Arbitrage here says Whatnot is a game changer. He's had 14.8K sales in 18 months. Damn, that's nice. Um, exactly. So the site has really exploded. But what we learned this week is that Fanatics is going to have their own live selling platform. They've just opened up some social media accounts and things like that. And I think that's really going to be where everything's going to go. I'm going to try to sign up for the beta because why not? If I can get it approved for a seller on there, I'd be all set to go if I decide to do it. But they make the products, they distribute the products, they promote the products, and they're going to approve who's going to sell live on their site and who can buy stuff. And that's monopolization to its
Yeah.
finest right there. Like it or not, that's kind of where it's going to be at. And heck, even if it just got me access to products earlier or at some kind of a discount, or if I broke live, I got something. I don't know. I have no idea what they're gonna. I don't even want to talk like I have some clue of how it's gonna work, but um, it's gonna be really interesting, I think. And I think Whatnot does you can sell anything on there pretty much. It actually started as like a Funko Pop live auctioning site, I believe, in its infancy. And you can do anything now. You can do vintage clothing, action figures, teacups. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can have a live auction show for anything. I know a lot of like Lola Roo. I'm probably saying that wrong, but there's a lot of women that buy these Lola Roo, bundles, and then they sell these pants and stuff like that. I've seen them on like Facebook. Most of them just sell on Facebook Live because they want a live auction site. They just want these pants out of there.
Yeah.
They're limited time collections, and I don't know. So I found that really intriguing. In fact, my wife once in a while, she's got a friend who sells the pants, and she'll go. she'll get an invite. Hey, I got a show tonight, and she'll watch and buy a pair of pants on there. And it's like, wow, that's weird, because like you wouldn't have just messaged her and bought a pair of pants, but it was on there live and you could kind of bid. But Whatnot takes it to the next level. There's literally a bid button on there, and you just swipe as a buyer and it automatically puts in a bid and then the next bid. There's a timer on there and it counts down. You can auction with like a starting bid. You can do an asking price, and then people can submit offers while they're on there, and it's pretty darn cool. Fanatics can come close to that, and they have so many more levels of control. I'm just speaking sports cards now, nothing else, but well, maybe memorabilia. They do a lot of memorabilia, but if you can get on there for those, I think that platform is really gonna be something. And not that you couldn't still do Whatnot and Whatnot. um, excuse me. But I think that Fanatics joining that game, it speaks a lot to how much they value it, right?
Yeah.
And think about how many breakers are on there, and they can just start shipping these cases to these breakers they approve right on there. And
Yep. I mean,
hopefully
they already cut out supply chain on that.
right, and hopefully
Yeah.
they'll be able to sort of eliminate the bad breakers. There's a ton of them. You know,
Yeah,
if you
unfortunately.
watch enough card YouTube videos, there's a ton of guy pulls a pack off the table and slips in a different card, and you got another breaker just never ships the card, and there's stuff
Yeah.
that goes on in there. And I think it's going to be interesting what Fanatics can do and how they can police and stuff. If you're at a risk of not getting product if you screw around, that might be enough to keep the straight arrows, you know.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And then you build that confidence in the buyers, and they want to promote and get a lot of new people in. Well, guess what? If you get new people in and they get burned on their first break, they're gone, you know. So I kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit. It's not our eBay platform, but it's still auctioning sports cards, which is essentially
Yeah.
what you're doing with eBay. So I thought it was relevant, and I found the Fanatics angle to it really. Have you ever shopped on Fanatics? Have you ever bought anything from them?
I have shopped around on Fanatics. I have not actually bought a product there. I
Okay.
tend to buy cards directly from Topps, from their
Yeah,
site.
because you're a baseball guy, so that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
But I had not really seen anything about the Fanatics selling sites coming out. I have looked around on Whatnot a little bit. You said something earlier I wanted to talk about, that they didn't immediately feel like a great low end selling platform.
Right.
But I will tell you that I stumbled across some low end selling on there, and it was
Me too.
it was entertaining. Like, it sucked me in. A guy had a shoebox full of cards, and I forget what they called it, like a death match auction or sudden death auction. And every card he'd hold up, he'd read the card. You had maybe 15 seconds, and the final bid when the clock went off got it. And the same guys would buy 40 cards out of whatever lot he was going through, and then you can ship them all together. But they typically were going from anywhere from 99 cents to $5 a card. So it can be done with the low end cards as well.
Yeah, and another one that I saw, which was a good angle for low end cards, was they just kind of put them in little lots. I don't want to say they were like intended lots, but like maybe you had 3 different, select Mahomes cards, right? So you'd put those down and go, yeah, let's do these 3 Mahomes cards. We'll start at $1. Well, you're probably going to get $4 or $5, $6, for some, decent brand Mahomes based stuff. So I was like, oh, that might be a great way to just sort of bulk some things that I wanted to go. So, because I always look at everything as an individual card sale, which is how I do it with, my selling on eBay and stuff. But I thought, well, maybe I just have to change it a little bit for the stuff that I want to go quicker on a live, and to make sure that I get some value out of those sales. So we'll see. I haven't done any cards yet. I did do a show and it was successful, and I had some fun with it. So I only had like 5. I didn't promote it. I didn't put it on my YouTube or I didn't put it on my gram. That's not really who I am. I like to make videos. If people want to watch them, I feel like they're going to come watch them. If they want,
Right.
if they're interested in my auctions, they'll come do it. Not maybe not the best salesman technique, but I feel like integrity and transparency and stuff like that, especially in this hobby and what we've seen recently, I
Yeah.
think that has some value. I'll be
Agree.
able to stay around while the other pumpers are kind of, fading away.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree. Like integrity is everything to me. Like I have a 25-year career in logistics, but I'm mainly focused on customer service within that field. So
mhm,
every transaction I make, like I'm thinking about how do I make this the best experience this buyer has had. It goes
yep,
back to something you said before about giving buyers discounts and things like that. I had a seller recent or a buyer recently that bought some cards that I did not have set up to consolidate orders on my site yet. Well, I noticed the same seller bought 3 cards from me, but it was charging the full shipping on every one. I made it a point to go back and send him a refund after
yep,
for a lot
yep,
of that without him even asking me anything. It's just the
yep,
right thing to do, right?
yeah,
And
yep,
I'm looking forward to that buyer coming back again and
yeah.
again now because I was looking out for them.
Yeah, and I've heard from and you'll notice the more and more you shop on eBay, there's a lot of sellers with not that great feedback, which
Mhm.
always kind of shocked me. I'm like, why are they still around doing this?
Yeah.
96%. Come on. A monkey could get more than 96%. I
Yeah.
guess if you only had 2 transactions and one went bad,
Yeah.
um but I value the feedback, and I want to make sure that people have. You can say, well, I got a negative feedback and I shouldn't have because blah, 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 blah. But guess what? That person did not enjoy their experience. That's why they left you a negative. That automatically means that you gave bad service, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, and it's easy to give good service when things are going well. But like you said, when something doesn't happen right, how do you handle that? That's how
Right.
you actually are measured as somebody who performs in customer service. And kind of like you, I work in title. So I am literally a middleman who collects everyone's money
Yeah.
and their contracts and their agreed upon things. The commissions paid to realtors, and taxes that are owed. Like, I am the house. I am the house. If the house cheats, that's it. That's the end of it. You
Right.
don't ever get any of that business ever again. And I kind of feel that same way with the card. That they trust eBay, so they go to eBay to buy. Then they find me, and they have some trust in me because they can see some of my experience, and they decide to give me the money and see how I do with that. Well, I'm going to make sure that I hold up my end to that.
Yeah.
Um, and I have a lot of repeat buyers, a lot. When I make my little sale cuts for in my videos and stuff, I don't put the buyer's name in there because I don't. First of all, I don't feel like it's relevant to the conversation or the video that I'm making.
Sure.
And second of all, I don't want to go back and ask for permission from all these buyers. Hey, can I share your eBay screen name? With what you. I don't want to do that, and I don't want to put them in that kind of position. They're not there for that. They're there to buy a card for whatever their purpose is, not to be in my YouTube video necessarily.
Right.
Um, but anyway, so when you go under that name, it says eBay buy, repeat buyer. I think you've seen that now. You said you had your first
Yeah.
repeat buyer.
I look for that now.
Um, and that's huge because you can market, you can advertise, you can put yourself on the gram, you can do all your stuff, but just providing a good service to a customer and have them coming back, to me, that's it right there. That's the real goal. So,
Right.
and to the tune of, I have a couple of repeat buyers that it's like a couple $100 a month that they're coming back to spend. So they need somebody that they can trust, and oh, this card was damaged, no problem, I'll refund you right away, or hey,
Yep.
I'll send you a new one out. Or
Yep.
I had one where I sold a base tops card. It was a farv card. It was a base tops card, and I didn't have any left, so I don't know how I got my quantity off by one, whatever. So I messaged him and I said, hey, I got a chrome one, do you want the chrome one? Heck yeah, I'll take the chrome one.
Yeah.
Sent him a chrome one. So there are things that are going to come up. You're going to make mistakes. eBay makes mistakes. Mail doesn't get delivered,
Yeah.
but you still have to handle that. That is still your business. It doesn't matter if the post office didn't deliver it.
Yeah.
they did not get that card from you. That's how the customer sees it.
Right.
That's how I would see it. If I bought a
That's
card and I never got it, I'd be like, dude, I didn't get the card. You have to
yeah.
take care of this. Sucks that the post office lost it. I get it. You didn't scam me, but
Yep.
you still have to complete our transaction. The buyer shouldn't lose.
That's the ultimate challenge that I'm in right now. As we talked about last week, I had my first couple cards that I shipped
Yeah,
out. They scanned
yeah.
them and then
Do you
showed
you
delivering
still have
in
the
the.
picture of that one that came all trashed
Oh,
that you sent
I
me?
don't. I think I deleted it off my
I'm on my
phone.
phone right now, so yeah, I can't share it. But yeah, it was all
Literal
bent and
tire tracks. Yeah,
yeah.
but I sent out 2 cards to buyers and they didn't get them. Both of them delivered in California, but the tracking on eBay's tracking showed out for delivery in
Mhm.
Illinois someplace. Well, you know, I had a lot of intense, repetitive communication with these buyers so that they knew I was advocating for them. I'm calling eBay customer service, trying to get this sorted out for them.
And
One event,
you're new, so
right,
you have to do even more because you don't have
right,
that automatic buy-in of prior
right.
prior experience. Yeah.
So one of them, the buyer reached out and said, "Hey, guess what? It's 3 days later. It showed up today. I got the card.
Yep.
Fantastic. I'm
And what
ecstatic."
did I tell
Right?
you was going to happen?
That was going to happen. But the other one I touched base with today, and they
Mhm,
still have not received it.
mhm.
So I did reach out to them and I said, "Hey, I talked to eBay personally on the phone. They said we're both going to be covered in this. That if you don't get the card, they're going to refund you. Apologize profusely for the issues with the carrier." Um, but then I said, I think the next step you want to do is go into your claim and you'll have an option to ask eBay to step in and that'll help move it along to the next step versus waiting
Yep.
a full 10 days,
Yeah.
right? Because we know there's an issue here. It's been like 7 days now and it
Mhm.
still hasn't arrived. But the ultimate test for me now is, will I see these 2 buyers again? That'll tell me
Right.
if I handled it
Right.
appropriately or not.
Almost the best customer you can gain is one that you screwed up on.
Right, exactly.
Because when you come back and you make it right, they can be like, well, dude, it doesn't matter because if he ever makes an error again, I know he's good for it.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
and I think there's a lot of value in that too. It's what you do with your mistakes is highly underrated, in my opinion, in business.
Yeah.
You
What I
know,
always tell my CS teams that work for me is that when a customer gives you some critical feedback, they're giving you an opportunity to continue the relationship. People don't
right,
have to give that feedback. They can just say,
right. Walk
forget
away.
them,
Yeah.
never,
Yep.
never deal with them again. If they're telling you there's an issue and giving you a chance to fix it, they want to work with you again.
Yep.
Respect that and do everything you can do.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That's your shot in the arm to step up and be more than what you have to be on an average transaction, right? So,
Right.
and
Right.
to your conversation earlier, bring it back to some eBay business a little bit. But a lot of times when I get that, oh, it didn't get delivered or whatnot, sometimes I look at, well, I gotta stop saying whatnot because that's like part of
It's
another
a
conversation now.
different topic now.
Um,
Yeah.
Whatnot's one of my favorite little phrase things, so it kind of stinks that somebody named their company that. They stole it from me. But a lot of times I'll look at what the transaction was, right? So if it was a dollar 50 cent base card, I just refund them. I don't,
Right.
and if they get the card, you know what? They can have the card. They come
Yeah.
out a little bit of a win for having an inconvenience. They'll come back to me because they know they don't have anything to worry about. If it's $100 card, well, first of all, you're not going to be sending a standard envelope.
True.
But second of all, that might be something you'd want to spend some more time on because that's the other thing I look at. How much do I want to invest in this $1.50 sale? Like, it's
Yeah.
not really, I don't really want to mail another card out. If the person's like, I really wanted this card, or it's for my son for his birthday, or something like that, that's totally different. But if they're just like, dude, I didn't get the card, I'd take a refund. Great, here you go. I just
Yeah.
refund them. They can't leave a negative feedback once you refund them. So there's a little bit of protection for you there if they are a little bit over the top on something that really isn't as world ending as maybe they think it is. But
Right.
in the same light, it allows you to make that correction quickly and just move on so that you're not spending a ton of time on it.
Yeah,
And
and
like I said, sometimes those cards will come back. I've had it too where it's like it sits out there for like a month and the card gets returned to me. So great, I gave him his $1.50. I'm out that money for a month. I get the card back. Well, no, I can just sell it again. So,
I
or you could
found
message the customer then at that point and say, "Hey, I got the card back. If you want to send me the $1.50, I'll mail it out." You know.
I did find that picture I sent you of that car that delivered. I don't know if it'll show up well on camera, but
All
yeah,
right. Well, you
the
can kind of see that it's
envelope just
folded.
has like
Yeah.
tread marks on it.
Yeah.
It was a Topps Tech card, and the image was peeling away from the card in the corners from someone doing a burnout on it or something. It
Yeah,
was
they're not meant to be driven on. Just FYI, in case somebody thought tech cards were, for like, traction or something. They're not.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's what's really weird to me is, and you and I talk a lot of because you're new, so you're asking me about a lot of things too. You seem to have more problems with the mail than I've ever had, and I've shipped thousands of cards. So it's interesting to see, like, maybe it's your carrier, maybe it's where it's
right,
getting picked up at. I don't know.
right,
Um,
and
and you're not doing
specifically,
anything wrong by any means. It's just it's interesting that stuff has come up more for you than.
yeah, and
And
it
I'm not going to say I've
does,
never had a card delivered, misdelivered. I've never had a card come damaged. I think anybody who's been doing this has, but
yeah.
very
I,
infrequently.
I will say there seems to be a trend with the relic cards, the auto cards
Oh,
that
that's right. Yeah.
are a little bit thicker and more rigid. Now
Mhm.
I do check the absolute thickness, make sure it's not more than a quarter inch.
Yep.
The rigidity is sometimes, it's like a
Questionable.
tweener card. It's not a full quarter inch. It's got a little bit of give. Those are the ones that I seem to have more trouble with, and I haven't had a lot of trouble. I had two cards basically
Yeah.
that
And those
give
were
me a
both
problem.
standard delivery, right?
They were
Were
standard
they standard?
delivery.
Yeah.
One was a relic card. It had a little facsimile of a WWE title belt built into the card.
Oh,
Um,
that's right. Yeah, that was a cool card.
yeah, and the other one, I forget off the top of my head. That was a little more of a standard card. It might have had a memorabilia swatch in it or something like that. But I thought that one, was going to be no problem shipping it. But I did have to learn that, I've made trips to my local post office to say, hey, it's the first time I'm shipping a card like this.
Mhm.
Am I going to be good the way it is, or do I need to do something different? And quite frankly, it's not a lot if you have to manual sort something. It's another 40
Right.
cents.
Right.
It's better than inconveniencing my buyer
Yep.
because it gets sent back to me and then is delayed and things like that. The most recent one I asked you about was that Topps coin or milk
Hmm.
cap, some people call them.
Hmm.
I was a little concerned about that because of those last two cards, but once I
Hmm.
got it, I did what you said. I put it in a top loader and a sleeve.
The baggie.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, it's much thinner than some of the
Yeah.
relic cards that I've had to
Yeah.
ship. So I think that'll be fine. But you get a lot of odd shaped stuff sometimes,
Hmm.
and you've got to learn all that stuff, right?
Yep.
Like I'm not a postal expert by any means.
Right.
So
Right.
what I think you should be able to send out, they've got a different idea sometimes.
Yeah. And the post office itself can be different from one place to another.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something you might send out, they'd be like, "Nah, it's close enough to a quarter inch. We'll let it go through." Another place is
Right.
like, "No, you need 30 cents, and you got to bring it to the post office." And
Right. Right.
so it really depends on kind of your rule sticklers versus your let's just get this thing delivered and be done with it.
Yep.
Um,
For
and you
sure.
mentioned something that kind of brings up a great debate in the low end card um, business, I guess, if you want to call it that, uh, community. Let's call it that, and
Hmm.
that's card saver shipping
Yeah.
versus top loader shipping.
Yeah.
Now,
Hmm.
personally, I'm a top loader guy. I just don't think that these
Me
have
too.
quite enough rigidity. And what can happen is what we just saw with your card, where if the most likely damage to a card when you ship it is going to be it gets a crease.
Yeah.
That's the most likely damage, or the envelope rips open. But if you're using your labels and you're labeling over the seal on the envelope, you shouldn't see any ripping because that is like essentially one solid piece of paper then at that
True.
point.
Yep.
But you put this on here, you put a little piece of painter's tape or masking tape, whatever, something easy to peel off, and you put that thing in an envelope, and you're good. You're always going to be under a quarter of an inch. The other thing that's great about them is they come in all kinds of sizes.
Right.
So you can get the card, to fit in. These are some thicker ones that I keep separate when I buy my bulks. So I
Yep.
always
I
have
keep a
an
whole assortment
assortment to
of them.
choose from. They cost about the same.
Hmm.
These are about 8 cents a piece. These, if you buy them used, which I'm just using them for shipping. I'm not buying brand new ones. I can get 1,000 of these for $50 or whatever. So they're 8 cents a piece, something like that, generally. And most of the time they'll ship you, they're not really going to sort them. So you'll get some assorted sizes with it. And that's generally how I ship. No, I'll ship, depending on the value of the card. If it's if I sell two cards and they're more expensive cards, I'll put two of them, each one sleeved, into a thicker top load. I start getting into more multiples cards or cheaper cards, then I start using the card savers.
Right.
So if I sell six $1 cards, I'm putting six cards in one thick sleeve. So not the standard sleeve. I'll put all six cards in there, put it in this thing, some tape across the top here,
Yep.
in an envelope, and ready to go. The other thing I do, and kind of what I gave you the tip on, is if you have anything that's thicker and it's in a top load, so you have kind of this exposed opening on a thicker top load, not just taping it shut, but then I put it in a baggie.
Yeah.
Mainly because this time of year not so much, but shipping something in January here, you have no idea how many snowstorms, puddles, rain clouds,
Yeah.
boots that's going to travel through before it gets to somebody. And at
Yeah.
least if that envelope gets wet, I mean, you can't prevent that, you don't deliver it yourself, but at least if I know if I put it in here and it's in a baggie, that thing is going to survive most
Yeah.
weather. Baggies are cheap. I don't buy those either. I buy so many lots and stuff. I get them all the time. People ship them to me. And as a matter of fact, I still have to throw a lot of these out because I just don't use enough of them. I
Yeah.
should try to just do that with more single cards, just to use them instead of wasting them. But
Yeah.
I'll usually get a pretty good pile of them, and then I'll decide to throw some away, and then I use some as I'm doing a thicker shipment of either more multiple cards or a thicker card.
Yeah.
So, what is your take on the shipping materials?
I follow pretty similar. I have some card savers. I bought a few of them. Most of them are ones that I received cards in,
Yeah,
but I really only use them for two purposes. Number one, if I'm going to send something to PSA for grading, they like
right.
them in those card savers.
Yeah,
That's actually why I bought some. And
same. That's why I have them too.
yeah, number two is if I'm sending multiple cards in a small lot, like three or four
Yeah,
cards,
yep,
then I will stick them in that card saver because it's got a little more room in it,
yep,
and fits nicely in that envelope. But everything else I put in a sleeve and a top loader. I've got the assortment of different top loader sizes. I'm still working on my thermal printer, so I haven't quite got
oh,
that running
okay.
yet. But
Yeah, that'll help.
what I'm doing until I get there is I initially started putting everything in a team bag or a one touch bag, mostly because I got some cards and my mailbox is horrible about water seeping in.
Hmm.
So I got some envelopes that were just soaking wet from sitting in my envelope. And I was like,
So
well, if I
yeah,
get
so you
that,
know what
other
I'm
people
talking
are
about
getting that.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So I started using bags, but then as I transitioned and learned my lesson about eBay standard envelope, so I am currently putting a label on an envelope, and then I put packing tape across the front and back to
yep,
seal that envelope
yep,
in. That to me is kind of a waterproof layer. So I no
yep.
longer put them in the bags. I just have the top loader and a sleeve, couple layers of packing tape wrapped around the entire envelope, and I send it out. It gives it a little extra strength to the envelope to
Excuse
worry
me.
about tearing, and it provides a little bit of waterproofing as well.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the other thing I like about the top loads is I feel like I can seal the top a little bit better when I
Mm-hmm.
tape the tops of these, especially if it's thicker or multiple cards. It kind of puffs up a
Yeah.
little bit, and if you're gonna bag these, you got to use the big bags, almost like the graded card bags.
So about
Jeez.
taping the top of the top loader, what I actually do, because I am printing a label and cutting it, usually I'm printing one label at a time. I do a lot of things in real time. I'm starting to batch more at the end of days. Like today I'll have 4 to do after we're done here. But if I print one, I only use half the sheet of paper. And when I cut it
Sure.
off, I
Yeah.
use the other half and I wrap the card in it. So I'll
Good
put
idea.
one
Good
piece
idea.
of painter's tape on
Yeah.
each end of the top loader across the top and bottom. So
Okay.
that holds it in place so it's not moving around the envelope. I fold that scrap paper over it and I usually write a little note on it just to
Sure.
thank you or something like that.
Jeez. You gotta
I
you gotta
know.
get yourself some business cards. Save your I'm all
Hey,
about the time saver. My time I feel is more valuable than any of the other stuff.
100 cards
Yeah.
only sold. I'm
Yeah.
building yet. I'm not there.
Well, let me know when you want a link to order some nice business cards, and I'll send
Yeah.
you that, and I'll help
Yeah.
you get that going. The other thing I do with card savers is I can tape two together. So I tape the two openings together. I can put 6 cards in this side, 6 cards in this
Oh,
side,
nice.
and then I put it in a business. It fits perfectly in a business size envelope. I don't know if you can see that, but end to end, it fits in there perfectly.
Yeah.
And it's 2 ounces, so it's only 84 cents, and I can send 12 cards, like regular size cards, of course. Um, so when I do my auctions every month, I do my far junk base, trying to get rid of them cards. I list 500 of those every month. I always sell 15, 20 of them to a
Yeah.
buyer, stick them in this thing, get them out there real cheap, make a little, I make good profit on those
Yeah.
while reducing some of that inventory. And you get those new listings, you get something that's timed, so it's going to end at some point, so you get more looks that way. So, and there are buyers that just want to buy at auction. They don't want to buy it now or make offers, and
Right.
they like that thrill of that chase, if you will. So,
Yeah.
so I kind of try to work all angles if I can. JD makes a comment here where he said he uses card savers with standard envelope, no complaints, and he uses card stock on each side. That's a great way to do it. Yeah, there's definitely not a this is right, this is wrong. Oh, I just said the one that you're doing is right and mine is wrong, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Um, it definitely has to be what you feel like is best for you, and if your customers are happy with that. I know a lot of sellers who use the card savers. Now, kind of back to what Charlie said. I don't only really have card savers because I either got stuff in them or because I bought them. I put my PC cards in them because I intend to get them all graded. So I don't use top loaders for my own
Right.
stuff. So it made sense for me to use these. I had a ton of these laying around. It made sense for me to use those for shipping versus something I would actually keep my own cards in. So teach his own. And I feel like if I do this versus this, I don't need to do card stock. I don't need to do a piece of paper folded over it. So
Yeah.
again, it goes back to time, a little bit of cost. Card stock costs money.
One of the
Paper
things that
costs money. These cost the same as this, and then I don't use those other materials. I tape it down nice, send it out. Same thing. I've had no complaints. I got 100% feedback on eBay. Never had a card damaged because it was in a top loader. But to defend
right.
your method, I've never had a complaint because I was in a card saver either. So um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you just really have to find your path for it. And to me, it was a lot easier to find quality used top loaders on eBay than it was card savers. When I look at lots of used card savers, they're always trashed. Like this thing rips so easily up here where it's divided. This will tear and they yellow really bad. And so some of them have like lots of tape all over them. And I get it. You can get that on top loads too. But I see way more really nice quality um, 1,000 top load lots than I have card savers. So that was my other motivation behind it too, was just
Yeah.
being able to get decent supplies. I do not advocate buying these brand new and using them for shipping. They're overpriced for that.
Right.
They're
Right.
great if you want to put your cards in a nice holder, fresh in your collection. That's I buy mine for that, but
Yeah.
This needs to be, 8 cents, 9 cents, maybe 10 at most, because my margins are smaller on the cards that I'm shipping. So I want to make sure that I protect my profits, my gains on them.
Yeah.
And that's how I do it. Now, if I went to, let's say I was running low on top loads and I ran to eBay to find a nice lot of these and I couldn't find anything under than 15, 20 cents a piece, guess what I'm using? I'm going to the card savers. And that was kind of true story during pandemic. Everything was, even card savers were, quarter a piece or whatever. So
Yeah.
cards were selling for more, so it didn't seem like it mattered that much. But now, it's a little bit slimmer pickings. You got to make sure that you get what you can out of it. Precisely why I like using the label printer too. Obviously, the speed, and it automatically puts the address on it and the QRC code for the shipping, all that good stuff. But it's a sticker. You don't have to use any paper.
Yep.
Packing tape is expensive.
Yeah.
I own another business outside this where I sell merchandising products, and obviously that stuff is boxed and bubbled and all that. So that's more. I use a lot of packing tape, and it's expensive
Yeah.
for decent quality packing tape. So I take my little envelope like this. Yes, I use little envelopes. I know some people use business size envelopes even for a single card. I'm not sure why you would want to do that, but if that works for you, that's great. But I just put my one card in here, and then on the back side where the seal is, I start my label across here, fold it around, fits right nice and neatly on the bottom, to the bottom of the envelope, and boom, you got a nice solid package with no openings exposed, and it's ready to go. The thing I don't like about this, and yeah, if you're using a sheet of paper, some cardstock, to mount this card to, it's not gonna flop around in here,
Yeah.
right? But the way I do it, and I'm not using those extra materials, this thing's just gonna travel,
Right.
and
Right.
I
And
don't
you don't
really
want
see the
that.
point in that. The other thing is, these cost almost 3 times as much as these.
Yeah. I use the
So
smaller
I can
ones as
get
well.
these for a little under a penny. At Walmart, you get, maybe I'm wrong. Is it over a penny? No,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it was
yeah. You get
Walmart.
100 of these for like $1.65, I think, at Walmart. So they're like a 1.6 cents. I have yet to find them cheaper than Walmart. So unfortunately, I have to go there to buy stuff.
Yeah.
But these are like 3.5 cents a piece. So why am I using that, which costs more, takes up more space? I don't know. I guess I don't see the gain in doing it. If you were going to use a full sheet of paper to wrap the card in, yeah, you'd have to. It would only fit in here. It wouldn't fit in this. So if
Yeah.
that's your method, I get it. I just think, even a sheet of paper is a penny a piece. Now you're adding that cost on it. I just don't. I don't know. I try to keep my time and my costs down, um, as much as humanly possible.
Yeah.
If I was mailing two $1,000 cards a week, I wouldn't give a shit what the cost is. Oops, I shouldn't
Right.
swear. My bad. Sorry for all you um, viewers who don't care for that kind of language. I apologize, um, but I'm not. I'm making 25 cents on this card. I can't put 2 more cents into this and 2 more cents into this and 2 more cents into this. Now these do cost money, of course. These are, I want to say, like 2 cents a piece almost. I buy 5,000 at a time, but I feel like that at least gets this is an investment in my advertising, right? Still cheaper advertising because I'm mailing it with the card, which I have to mail anyway, so it doesn't cost me anything to mail this, but it gives, I got my QRC code on there to go to YouTube, and then I've got my code to go to my store. Um, and so I feel like that is worth it for my extra expense. Um, but yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing that I see in the difference in shipping and how I've done my way to it.
And I like to see how other people do it. Like, it's always part of the excitement for me when I get cards I buy to see how they come packaged. Like the other day, I had a low end auto card. I think it was like Tel Marte or something I got for maybe $6. But it came with this Ding Defend card in there. And I hold on to it because I'm like, maybe I'll have a use for that someday. you talk about all the time, reusing some of these supplies that come in on
Yeah.
your bot cards.
Yep.
Absolutely. Like
Yeah.
flip that stuff around too.
Yeah, even like this I'm not going to spoil our mail day yet because we have to do mail day. That's part of the fun. But I got this nice little, these are very expensive, these types of bubble envelopes, the colored ones. They also open really easily, which I don't like. Like, ship my stuff in something that I can't just do this with. Literally, that's how easy they are to open. No
Yep.
tape over it or anything. But I can reuse this envelope, and I will. So it's got the nice fragile stamp on it. So I'll use this for like a PSA card or something a little bit higher end that I have to mail.
Right.
Um, why not reuse it? I can easily throw some tape over the top of this and seal it really nice.
Right.
JD made a comment. Yeah, envelope number 6 from Walmart.
Yep.
Right on, dude. That's what I
Yeah.
use here.
I use
Walmart
number
number
six
sixes.
too.
I want to say they're $1.65 a box. Good luck getting them at Walmart. I check a couple times a month, and I even sent Charlie a picture. Look, I hit the mother load, and it was like 8 boxes of envelopes.
Yeah.
Um, but literally, people like us go there. They know that's the best price. You can't get them online from them, and they buy out the shelf. So you really have to go and um, make sure that. Oh, weird. Oh, just a new message in the chat. Charlie's refreshing, I guess. But yeah, the envelope number 6s are amazing from that. They work perfect. Okay, let's see. What else we got here? Bargain Boxer. I know he said he might be the only one in my chat that doesn't resell. That's okay. We love buyers too. Buyers can get tips and tricks from sellers, and we love talking to. I love talking to buyers because you're my customer. I want to know what you want, what you like, what you don't like, and that more buyers participating will create more good sellers. So thank you for being here, everybody in the chat, everybody watching. Thank you so much. Anybody watching this not live later on, we appreciate you. Watching and giving us some time and letting us share some of our experiences with you. So let's see. Bargain Boxer says he only uses top loads for his collection. I was kind of expecting this comment from someone. I knew we were going to have people who top load their collections, which is great. That's the other reason I like shipping in these, because honestly, that's how most people like to keep their cards. So if I ship in, I've literally heard, not from me because I ship in top loads, but I've heard from some other sellers that their customer was mad they didn't get their card top loaded. I do get comments from customers once in a great while that says, please sleeve and top load this card. So I'm kind of meeting that demand automatically just by the nature of how I ship. But I know some people really like their cards in the top loads for their collection. So if they get it in this, they might be not upset, but a little disappointed that, okay, now I got to take it out of this holder and put it in this holder. I don't use these holders. What do I do with it? So yeah, it's a lot of it is just kind of honestly, the biggest thing is, what does your customer want? Um, if they love your card savers, then ship your stuff in card savers. That's absolutely what you should be doing. Okay, let's see. Pre-standard envelope days, you have a ton of bubble mailers. Huh. Um, yeah, I have a ton too. Let me see if maybe I'll take you traveling with me here for a second. Let me see if I can. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so see here, I've got a whole stack of bubble mailers there. Let's see if I can get this on the screen. And then I have a couple of boxes right there of the eBay envelopes. So when you're a store seller, you get every quarter you get some money to spend on eBay shipping supplies. Basically free supplies. Ooh, chat. Charlie's back, I believe. Hey, Charlie.
Sorry about
We're
that.
talking about some bubble mailers. So that was going to be kind of my next thing I was going to talk about was we were talking about envelopes and stuff, but these eBay. This is what I use my quarterly eBay credit on. Each quarter, I get a box of these. You get like 1,000 of them or something ridiculous for like $30, but it's $30, but I don't have to pay it. Like, it comes from that eBay credit. So I buy those every single time. What? This is the box. It's like ginormous. So you get a
So,
ton of
Adam,
bubble.
what kind of shipping program do you use when you use a bubble mailer? Do
So
you
bubble
use first
mailers
class
would have
there?
to be like regular mail postage. So that would be your packages. Believe it or not, you can send cards media mail. It's approved to send cards in media mail because they are like a publication, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but mainly, I only use bubble mailers for cards that are more expensive. Anything over $20, you can't send standard envelope.
Right.
And I am a low end card seller, but I sell lots of cards that are over $20. I mean, I'm not stupid. If I can make a profit on a $50 card, that's a good way to go.
Yeah.
And then also any PSA cards, anything graded, you're not going to send that in an envelope.
Right.
So these are free, entirely free. They're nice quality envelopes. Got nice sticky seal on the back there, the foil, and I get them free. So I have like 3 boxes plus this huge stack of them right now. I took my phone off before and I was showing everybody my bubble collection over here.
And when you
But I don't
use
use them that
those,
often, so I kind of keep ordering them because they're free, and then I just hang on them. Honestly, I've used them for other stuff around the house. My father-in-law is living with us right now, and he had to mail some prescription medications back or something. So I'm
yeah,
like, hey, I got a bubble envelope for you. It
when
says
you
eBay
use
on it, but you
those
can.
when you use those bubble mailers, do you then still use the eBay label, like purchase the
Yep,
USPS label and
yep,
affix it on there? Because it's
yeah.
usually not a good
So
match size wise, right?
right, it's only going to be a certain size of the envelope. I wish I had one right now. I could show you. Well, here, this is exactly what it prints. So it
Right.
it just prints the type of postage. So this is first class. That's hence the big F. This is the size of it. It's the sticker out of your machine, and you just literally stick the label to the envelope and throw it in the mail. So yeah, pretty simple. But bubble envelopes also are not cheap, and I
Right.
don't like to spend money on stuff that doesn't get me more cards. That's my basic philosophy. If I can buy another lot with some money, I'm gonna do that versus spending it on this stuff, which is important, but not the best use for my money.
Right.
So, should we do a little show and tell here? I don't have a lot to show today, so
I don't either.
um,
I showed off the lot of Star Wars cards I've received today. I have one other lot that I received today that I can share, but I didn't really pull aside any of my bargain box buys in the last
ah,
week. I did get a few though.
gotcha. Well, we do have a card show next weekend, so um,
Yes.
not this upcoming live. If we continue to do one every week, hopefully that'll be the plan because I'm really enjoying this. I think it's fun. Um, so not this upcoming week, but the following week we'll have kind of some of our picks from value boxes, which is always my
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah. Let's do that. I
So
will
so
share
show
though
me your. I want to see your Star Wars stuff.
the Star Wars stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So this was two separate lots from the same buyer. So these are Topps 206 cards. If you're not familiar with
Okay.
that, they're kind of tobacco
Mhm.
size cards. So there were 140 of these, I think. And then the same buyer had these Book of Boba Fett cards in a lot for
Okay.
sale as well. I have not even taken them out of the bags yet. This is how
Sure.
freshly delivered they are.
Sure.
Just took them out of the main box before I got here. But as I look at these, who is it? You would know these names better, but this is a new Allies card with Kristan or something like that. The
Okay.
Blackford Chewbacca.
Yep.
Um, I'm not saying that right. Chewbacca is a name, not a
Right. Right.
species. So I'm
It's a
expecting
Wookiee.
you to, yeah,
It's a
I'm
Wookiee.
expecting you to
Yeah.
correct me on that.
No, it's more
But
it's more fun to watch you squirm.
yeah, some concept art cards. Looks pretty nice. But these Tops 206 I had seen before. So Bo Kristan is the top one there on that one. We got
Bo-Katan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. C3PO is there. So I do
Nice.
feel like, one, I'm gonna have fun opening these up and seeing what's in there and just reliving my own memories. But two, I believe there's a value play there. Like I said, I paid about 20 cents a card for these. So I do believe that I'll be able to flip a lot of these, if not most of them. But then the other lot I got from another buyer, I think this is like 600 cards. These are all WWE cards from multiple
Nice.
sets. And I got 2 stacks like that. So here's the other stack.
Look at you
And
diversifying.
I know. So you got guys like Shawn Michaels in there. Everybody loves the Heartbreak Kid, the
Yeah.
Undertaker. Who doesn't
Nice.
love the Undertaker? Um,
Are
let me
those
see.
Optic? Or what brand is that?
No, those
Chronicles
are
Optic?
Chronicles. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you got your legends in there. You got the Hulk Hogan. Um,
Nice.
and this also has some inserts in here that I didn't even get to. So nice. So they do the season ticket as well on these.
Wow.
So I believe that. So I am a big WWE fan as well. So the fun factor is there for me.
Sure.
Again, I paid about on this lot. I think I paid well under 20 cents a card, and it fit what I'm looking for in that low end. I'll have fun going through it. My kids get in the WWE as well, so I know they'll enjoy it. Oh my goodness! So this is a Gorilla Monsoon Black. So I mean,
Oh,
there are some
nice.
nice inserts in here. They're not just
Yeah.
all duplicate bases. So pretty happy with this set. As I kind of look through there,
And they're just
there
fun.
are yeah. I mean Shinsuke Nakamura. I think this is Illusion set.
Yep.
So same
Looks
as the
like
football
illusions. Yeah.
sets. These are all Panini made.
Yep.
So they take the same sets from football and basketball and they just do WWE on them. So, and for anyone who knows anything about the WWE, there is a huge market out there. The WWE is a multi-billion-dollar organization. Why wouldn't there be hobby in it as well? Right.
Yeah. Yep.
So, so I'm excited to go through these and really see exactly what's in there. But I feel good about that purchase, and I'm
That's
excited
awesome.
to really look through there. What do you got?
Yeah, I just have one. I mean, I've gotten other things. I just didn't save them for the video. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Call me silly, but I usually try to save some stuff. But I was able to get a lot of listing done recently, so I didn't have as much saved. And kind of to that end, I was laughing. I was listening to a reseller yesterday or something, and he's like, well, if you run out of stuff to list, you can go back through your listings and update. And I'm like, run out of stuff to list? Are you nuts? I'm never gonna keep up with listing. That means I didn't buy enough.
Yeah.
So anyway, so this is a little different than what we've seen in the last few what we've bought from this live, but this is all Erling Holland cards
Oh, very
for
nice.
soccer. So some Optic base, which are I love Optic. It's one of my favorite brands. There's some brand new Donruss. So this is this guy's first year with Manchester City, which is a huge soccer club. They're in first place in
Breaking
the
records.
he breaking records. He broke the record for the most goals in a single season. Most goals ever by a player on Manchester City, who's had a lot of legends play for them. um, I got to I think I mentioned this last video. I got to see him play in person. It was just a few yards from me, which is pretty amazing considering we don't get European soccer in Green Bay. So, so I'm bought in that way too. I literally got to see him play his first game with this team, and I watched this team religiously. So, pretty cool. But and you know what? He stands out in a crowd, right? So he's got this long blonde flowing hair. He's like 6'5". Like you can't miss this dude out on the pitch, right?
Right.
But anyway, this lot was really cool. It had some of these cool like rain shimmer
Yeah.
parallels.
We
His
talked about
stuff's super
liking the
hot right
shiny
now,
stuff.
so shiny stuff. Here's an Optic. I still call this stuff refractors. I'm a '90s card kid, but this is what you would call a prism silver. So on there, it's got the little prism logo. So if you ever want to know if it's a prism or not, it should say it on there.
Should.
There's a couple more of the shimmers. These are in his green and black kit, which is one of their favorite team sets. Kit is the name of a uniform in soccer. That's what they call it. Soccer's interesting. You don't have a home and an away uniform. They have like 35 different designs
Yeah.
for kits, and so here's their red kits. Their traditional is like you can kind of see it on the border here, but it's like this baby blue, sky blue color. But then I got these. I love these comic book style cards. I showed some of these last time, the Mahomes ones that I got, the Heroes cards. They're not they're underpriced in my opinion. They have a lot of staying power because they're cool. Um, to me they're just as great as a Kaboom or any of that other stuff. But I got two of those, and one is the base version, the silver, and one is the copper version,
Nice.
the parallel. So
You're the
some
reason I
nice
can't
some
find
nice
any
cards
out there
there.
now.
I'm sorry.
You're the reason I can't find any out there now.
Is that what you're looking for? Is Holland stuff?
I
No way.
was gonna dig around a little bit. Yeah, I don't have any soccer right now, and we
Yeah.
talk about diversifying. So
Yep.
he was a name I was gonna start poking around for a little bit.
Yeah, soccer is kind of my one area where I'll do a little prospecting. So I really like the Tops match attacks. I think we kind of talked about that stuff previously, maybe not in one of these videos, but I got a few here. But they have really cool, these are cheap. They're like game cards, right? So there's like stats and stuff for the player on the front, and let's see if this is a base card here. So there's some cool card stock. It's a Tops product, but you've got like kind of their skill sets here and their points and their rank and all that, and then the back kind of is more like a game card because they don't want you to know what all the stats
Yeah.
are. I assume I've never played the game, but I'm assuming you start like this and you flip over and you play.
Yeah, it reminds me of a Tops attack card I recently sold.
It's literally the same thing. This is attacks.
It is okay.
Yeah, it's just the soccer version, but they make all these cool little tins where you get like a limited edition card of a well-known player like a Holland or a Messi, so you get instant value out of it. And their inserts are just cool. The colors are cool. There's lots of foil, and they're cheap. When I was buying like just single packs of these, they were $1.29 a pack. I mean, that's insane in today's card market. There's these cool ones where it's got like a picture of their signature on it.
Yep.
With the foil, the cracked ice, whatever you want to call it. They're just amazing. So, anyway, that's kind of my prospecting. So I don't really do it with the baseball. I'll buy like the tins and the boxes and stuff of the attacks, and I'll get the rookies and stuff out of that. And
right.
When they become big, then I've got something that I didn't pay much for them. So that was my one big mail for today was my Holland stuff. So I'm trying to think if I have anything else laying around here I haven't shown off. I mean, I just made a video of like mail day stuff. It was like 2 hours long. It was insane because I had all that huge, awesome, amazing vintage lot that I bought.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to make a video of that. Leo says he's bought plenty from me and he's made hundreds. So, hey, man, that's awesome. If you find something of extra value in my stuff, buy it and flip it by all means. I have no problems being the middleman in a transaction. Cards in the Closet says he has the Walmart envelopes. They were $1.69 for 100 when I bought them online. Will they ship them to you online, or do you buy them online and then you got to go pick them up? I think that's what it was. Like they don't mail, probably because of the weight, they don't mail them. I remember there was a reason I didn't buy them online, but $1.69 is about right. I think I pay $1.65 in the store here by me. So $1.69 would be about right. JD clarifies, says trading cards do not qualify as media mail. Interesting, because I sell in the card category, and it gives me that as the preferred mailing option when it's over my 3 ounces or it's over $20. So I wonder why eBay would do that if it's not meant to go as media mail. I've sent a bunch of them as media mail, and I've never had a problem. So I don't
I
know.
haven't sent any yet, but I also see that in the options when I fill in my
Yeah.
packaging specifics. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what mine defaults to. Maybe that's just because it's like cheapest option first kind of is the setting, but why would it give you that option if you weren't allowed to mail them that way? I don't know. I might
Right.
have to look into that. I just assume that, well, it's something printed on
I
paper. It's no different than a book or a magazine or a newspaper, right?
I
Just because
actually
it's a trading card, it shouldn't matter.
when I was just getting started, I actually went into the post office asking questions like this, and I brought up media mail as an option, and the the clerk that I was working with did say that was an option,
Yeah,
but
I
it was
thought
one
so.
of like five we were rapid
Right,
fire going through. So
right.
I don't know how accurate that statement was, or maybe I
Yeah,
misunderstood. We didn't end up using it, but
sure.
I had thought that she had mentioned we could use that if needed.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll look into that a little bit this next week, and then next chat,
Yeah, that's
we'll make some, final decision on that with some information we gather because if you're not using that JD and it is an option, it is cheaper than first class mail. It does take a day or two longer to get there, so depending on what you've sold, you might not want to use that option. And yeah, I
I don't.
don't think you can buy insurance or something. There might be
Yeah,
some limited services with it, so it depends on what you need, but
and
I
I don't
shipped a
think
bunch of stuff
it's.
that way.
I don't recall it being significantly less than first class.
It depends on what it depends on what the weight is and what the size of the package is, I believe.
Yeah.
But you're right. Some of them it was like, oh, it's 10 cents different. I'm like, I'm just going to buy
Right.
first class and
Right.
get it there 2 days earlier. So you're right. I shouldn't say that I've just chosen media mail as the default. I've definitely gone with first class over media mail lots of times. Um, but let's say it's 14 of my 99-cent cards. Like I'm going to try to
Yeah.
ship it as cheap as I can. Everything comes down to your expenses in the end.
Yeah.
Um, Cards in the Closet says again, yeah, he bought those envelopes. He's orders online for pickup. Exactly. So that was the thing. Yeah, and you're right. That's a good way to do it instead of just running into the store and they don't have any. You can try to order online. That way you're not wasting the trip. But for me, Walmart's literally on my way home a lot of the times, and I'll just pop in there, or I'll need something else there for some reason, and just head back to the envelope aisle, and I just buy them when I can. I have like I kind of showed you before my padded envelopes. I also have a stack of these boxes. I probably have 40 of them right now, so It's not like I have to go tomorrow and buy envelopes by any means, but yeah, when I find them, I buy them. Let's see. Okay, GD has some more feedback on media. Tread lightly using media. I've known someone who didn't know and ended up having their orders sent back.
Yeah.
Interesting. Did they say why it wouldn't qualify for media mail? I'd be interested to know why. Because technically, the definition of media mail is anything that is something printed on paper, which literally a trading card is paper with printing on it. So maybe because it was in a plastic holder, they didn't. Then they're like, then it's not media mail anymore. I don't know. Seems weird, but
Hmm.
I know people who sell books and they put the books in the little like board baggy things. Like you can sell a comic book media mail
Yeah.
with it boarded and bagged. So
And
I don't know. I guess I'd
CDs,
want a
I
little
think.
bit of clarification on that. Huh?
I think CDs as well. That's a common
Yeah,
method
CD.
for
Yeah,
shipping.
yeah, that would be considered media because it's art. It's a performance art or whatever. Yeah, I think falls under that too. So yeah, and you're right. And that would have a plastic case. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I have a hard time believing that media mail wouldn't work, but um, he bargain boxer says reduce, reuse, recycle. Yeah, I mean this is kind of an old comment now in this chat, but is absolutely right. I don't want to waste things. There's too much of that in our environment as it is. There's many reasons to reduce, reuse, recycle. Cost, time, environment, less trash to throw out, less effort. I'm all about that. I do not get mad when I have cards that show up in these. And as a matter of fact, you just saw in my lot, I got a bunch of card savers in that and some top loads. I'll use all of those. The baggie that it came in, this is one of the tall baggies. So I'll save this. I'll probably put a PSA graded card in it and ship that out. I have a PSA graded card I got to ship tomorrow. So yeah, absolutely reuse everything. The only thing I won't reuse is tape. So if I get a package with, a little piece of tape over the top load, I'm not peeling that off and reusing it because it's just not how it's supposed to be. Literally this roll is $1.29 at Meijer. This lasts me, and mail a ton of stuff. This lasts me like 6 months
Yeah.
because I just peel a little piece of tape that big, put it over the top load. Doesn't take a lot, and there, you're safe. Pinch it a little. You give it a little pinch to close off that top end. That's all it takes. So I mean, this whole roll will last me a long time, super long time. So that's my taping strategy there. Let's see. Cards and Closet says I'm 99% sure you can't send cards media mail. Well, you can until you get caught.
That's true.
Well, I mean, it wasn't even like I chose the option. eBay suggested the option to me when I made the sale. So if it's not an option, they should remove that from it. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me either.
They don't always give you the default best choice either. I mean, that's why I didn't use standard envelope the first, half a dozen cards I shipped out, because it kept defaulting to first class, I think. And I'm like, well,
But
I don't want to pay $366 to ship one card or something like that,
But that depends on how your shipping settings are set. If you're over 3 ounces and you're over a size of an envelope, it's not going to get. See, it shouldn't give you a shipping option if it doesn't qualify for that.
See,
that's why
the thing.
I believe that
initially.
the media mail should qualify because it gives you that option based on the category. My item's listed in the right category. It's not listed in book. It's listed in sports, trading card, singles, football, blah blah blah, however it breaks down. And the size and the dimensions of the envelope. So
I think the whole discussion calls out the fact that there's a lot of education to be had on shipping options yet. Even though people ship so much of this, there are so many different options these days, and they're not always listed real clear as to what you can and can't do, and what's the optimized mode for every item you send out.
And I guess it's such a slim use for me. I hadn't really figured, and I've never had a problem shipping it that way, but I use media mail maybe 3 or 4 packages a month. I'm 99.9% standard envelope, and then once it's past that, it's a bigger card for me, and I'm not going to ship that media mail anyway. It's going to go first class with signature or priority or something like that. So JD says that eBay gives media mail option incorrectly to a few categories. You would think that the Postal Service would kind of get on them with that. They have a pretty close relationship, hence why we can do the standard eBay delivery envelope as a special service. I would think that the post office would kind of be like, hey, stop offering this. We're sending all these packages back, and it's not correct. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm glad we had this conversation. I'm not saying anyone's right. I'm not saying anyone's wrong. I think we need to get some more information on it and some clarification. And I'll bring that to the next meeting, right? That should help everybody. Because if it is something you can use and you guys aren't using it, it might be something you'd want to entertain as an option if it saves you some money. JD says he wishes it was an option because it's a media mail's a great deal. However, you can trust me that trading cards do not qualify. Yeah, it's not that I don't trust you. I just would like some clarification from the post office itself, just to make sure we're all on the same page. Sometimes when a service is being offered and they say you can't do this, sometimes it changes over time too. And then they're like, well, now you can ship it this way. You can't ship that anymore.
True.
Heck, I can remember when I was a kid, I can remember mailing alcohol. We would send my grandma a bottle of wine, and that's a total no-no now. But we would mail a bottle of wine to my grandma for her birthday or whatever, never thought twice about it. No one even asked. Right. So,
the old Mad Dog 2020.
Yeah, right. Yeah. A box. We'd send her a box of wine. Comic books are not media mail. Comic books and magazines do not qualify. See, what's media then? Just CD? Why would a CD be able to be mailed media, but a magazine isn't media. I don't know. I don't get it.
Apparently, it has something to do with advertising. Like it
Okay.
has, it seems to be
Yeah,
a
but I'm
common thread. If there's advertising, it doesn't qualify.
yeah. A lot of comics have advertising cards. 100% aren't media mail though. So advertising defines if it's media or not. Huh. Pre-recorded audio discs qualify. Blank media does not qualify. Okay, well that kind of makes sense.
Well, I don't get the why
Video
blank
games
wouldn't
don't
though.
qualify. Huh?
Why wouldn't a blank qualify?
I,
Like
I don't know.
that, I don't get.
Because it doesn't have any content, like protected content. I don't know. Video games don't qualify. Thing is, eBay is not USPS. The seller is responsible for their. Oh, I'm reading this and not putting it on the screen. My bad. Um, eBay is not USPS. The seller is responsible for their package. Media mail is a gray area. Rule of thumb: if it contains advertising, it does not qualify. But this does not contain advertising. So I don't know. That's really interesting. I never even thought twice about it. If it gave me the media mail option and I felt like it was a good option to ship, I just did it. I never really thought about
Yeah.
this like
Maybe it has to have some
not
intellectual property in terms of creativity or something like to that nature.
yeah. Yeah, I mean I guess I can see both sides of it. So yeah, well I'll get some clarification and we'll know for sure. USPS defines if it qualifies for their media mail shipping. Your definition of media has zero to do with the Postal Service's definition. Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I guess that's makes sense. I guess I don't understand the motivation of like, well, it's cheap if you want to sell a Nirvana CD, but you got to pay more if it's a CD that you can put your child's graduation video on. Like, I don't,
Right, right.
I'm not quite sure I understand why they would do one or the other. They must have like a definition of their policy or something like that on their website, I would think. Like,
Yeah, on the
media
USPS stuff.
mail, you can only ship this, this, and this. These you cannot ship this, this, and this. I mean, I doubt they list everything possible on there. So might
Right.
still have to ask, but
They have a lot. As a newer seller, I've spent a lot of time out there. It's not always the easiest to read through either.
yeah, I did. MD says he posted a link, but he was not sure if it went through. I don't see a link, so maybe that's not something we can share through chat. Maybe StreamYard blocks that. I'm not sure, but yeah, I appreciate all the feedback and the comments, MD. It sounds like this is something you've looked into,
It's time for your daily
and you
stock
have
market update routine.
understanding of the definitions of it. So yeah, I'm definitely going to look into it myself. And if that's correct, we can't use media mail, then I won't use media mail. It won't really be an end all for me because first class will be fine for the few that I do it with, and the rest it's just standard envelope anyway, which of course they do qualify for. So
Sorry about that. Alexa wanted to give me the daily stock market update.
oh wow, how'd you do? Did you make some money today?
I didn't quite hear it with the
We can just make videos all day long now. We don't have to go to work. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah, that'd be all right. It's an inclusive list. You'll fully be made aware seeing that page. All good. Just don't want you to get caught with your pants on. Yeah, I appreciate it. I have absolutely zero intentions of shipping something against the Postal Service's policy. That's never something that I was going for. I just kind of looked at. I mean, I just kind of thought of my own definition of media,
Yeah.
and felt like, oh yeah, that would fit. And then the fact that eBay gave me that as a shipping option, because they won't give you standard envelope shipping option if you're selling a teddy bear, right? Because it doesn't qualify for that type of shipping service. So it should be pretty simple for them to build in, like, trading card category does not qualify for media mail, like done, right?
If it's that cut and
I wouldn't
dry,
think,
yeah.
So so that's kind of how I tripped into it, but
there's a lot of gray areas on the different packaging and shipping requirements. So we talked earlier about rigidity, right? Like what's the exact amount of flexibility a card needs to be able to be shipped in standard envelope?
Yeah, even kind of a 1/4 inch can be subjective because there
Yeah.
could be a spot in the envelope where it's like a little puffier than that, and then the other side, I don't know. You just
If you push the
I
limits, you're almost
I know
better off
people
just
who
going
have
to the next
sent
level.
a single, 32 point or whatever's 12 point. I don't know, whatever is the base. I don't know what the measurement is. Whatever the base stock card is in a top loader, or a card saver for that matter, and mailed it, and the post office said, nope, that's not enough postage. Like, dude, it's literally this specific type of mailing service is for this.
Yeah.
Um, I've never had that happen, but I've heard that from other sellers and dealers that are like, yeah, I sent it standard delivery the way they told me to, and they wanted more postage. So I've had that experience with the post office itself too, where I'm doing my own postage and it mails just fine, and then I bring it in and they're like, oh no, we can't mail it that way. We got to add this and we got to add that, and it's like, is your job here to upsell? Is that sort of the goal of the branches of the postal service? I don't think so. I don't know why they'd be motivated to do that. It's not a profit, company, but yeah, I found that I can ship much more economically when I do things myself. So I don't know.
I recently had a graded card I sent out, and I used a box for it. And I do have a postal scale here, so I weighed the box and the card, and it was pretty light yet. Like I believe I had like 1.5 ounces yet to spare. Well, I didn't weigh it with the bubble packing in it or the taper on the box, and I took it in thinking, oh, I got plenty of room to spare. And
Yeah.
sure enough, they're like, nope, you're just over. We're gonna have to add a little more postage on there.
Yeah, there's a bit of a skill to it. You have to it takes some time to really get used to it. Like I said, I've had a mail order business forever with other stuff. So, I've always had a scale. I've always, kind of been able to calculate. I can hold something and go, yeah, that would be like 6 ounces. And,
Yeah.
it's like anything, you do it enough, you kind of know where you sit with it, but you really don't want to pay the postage short because you don't want your customer to have to come up with something. But you're right, it's that fine line. I really don't want to put extra postage on it either.
Yeah.
And nobody wins except the post office in that deal. So,
Yeah.
if they're gonna create a gray area, they got to understand that some people are going to go above that and some people are going to go below that, and that's just how life exists.
Yeah, and I think they understand that. I mean, it doesn't sound like they really go and create an escalated issue unless it's a habitual offender.
Right.
I've heard stories of, they'll update eBay that they have a seller that's consistently, not meeting the requirements or something like that.
Now, that being said, because I've bitched enough about the Postal Service, I have a lot of compliments for the Postal Service. I've been using standard envelopes since the day it came out. I literally made a video like 2 days after they announced it was out on how I was going to use it and pack it up and do all that stuff. And I have 100% feedback since then. So my customers are getting their cards. They're getting them on time. The tracking, like you said, it's got some quirks, but I think most buyers and sellers understand that at this point. And they see like, oh, it's out for delivery, but I didn't get it yet. Dude, it'll probably show up tomorrow. They just scanned it wrong.
Yeah.
Which happens all the time. Or it got scanned in Illinois and it's actually in California. Anyway, so I give them mad props. They've given us an option. They've made an agreement with eBay to give us the commercial stamp price. For those who don't know, the actual stamp price is like 64 cents or 66 cents or something. It's not 60 cents. So you get it at the commercial rate, you get tracking, and the thing gets there pretty quick. If you pack it correctly and, mail it direct, bring it to a post office, get all the steps in order as fast as you can. I get a lot of feedback that's like super quick, got this super quick, super fast shipping, so as long as I'm fast on my end, I have pretty good confidence that the Postal Service is going to hold up their end and get it done. So
the vast majority are successful with no issues. I don't think there's any denying that.
Yeah. I have, since standard envelope has come out, I have never considered looking into another option. for mailing my single low dollar cards. Now, our business model was not even something you could really do before this, because you were taking the entire, well, you found that out before standard envelope. You're taking the entire risk, slapping a stamp on it. First of all, you get no commercial discount. You'd have to get like stamps.com or something like that.
Right. Yep.
And pay a monthly fee to get, a commercial stamp price. You get no tracking. I think the Postal Service looks at stuff like this, especially things where they can scan it, as let's handle this right, versus
Right.
you put a stamp on it. And, who's going to know if it gets lost, right?
Yep.
So yeah, it's been a really good program. JD here says the same thing. I love the standard envelope. Etsy had it first, and I've used it with them, and now Mercari has it. I did find out that Mercari just launched it. Yeah, a lot of people are cross-posting cards now from eBay to Mercari using like List Perfectly and a couple other programs that allow you to take your current eBay listings and just port over to another platform. So JD is using it on Mercari as well. I do not sell anything on Mercari. I haven't really felt the desire to go into that platform. I have so much eBay to build out yet, that I really don't want to have another platform to try to look at. And I have this feeling that I would sell a card on Mercari to a buyer and a card on eBay to a buyer, and then what do? I can't really combine them.
Yeah, because how would you manage the timing? I mean, it's entirely possible. Someone's looking at it at the same time on different platforms.
Right. And then, so then you have to do the thing where it's like, well, you take it down on the other platform because it's sold on this one. And for my little low end cards, I haven't felt the need to do it. Most of the sellers that I see that are doing the cross posting, they're selling like vintage clothing and weights and jerseys and knick-knacky things and action figures and stuff like that, where that seems like it would make a little bit more sense to open that market. And like there's an insane number, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was really high, like 98% or something of all card sales happen on eBay. So and I get it, Mercari's trying to change that, Poshmark, all these other websites, they're trying to get a chunk of that pie. But I don't feel like I have the eyeballs on Mercari for my stuff that I do on eBay, where it would be worth it for me to cross. So maybe one day, we'll see. I'm not sure what Mercari's fees are either. I think they're very similar to eBay, so I don't think you're saving there either. It's interesting to hear everybody's experiences with with the different services and stuff. But I do like the live auction option. I think it's a great way to be like, I bought a lot and I've got all these great little vintage cards that I don't want to list. I'd rather just make my nickel today and not worry about the dime tomorrow.
Right.
Fun way to do it. You can build some social media presence doing it. You can get on camera and kind of pump your sale a little bit. Dude, look at this. This is Chris Collinsworth. I mean, here he is talking about, Joe Montana and saying quirky things on TV because he's a newscaster now. And, you can't really tag, add a tagline to an eBay product. It just kind of sits there. I mean, I guess you can type stuff in the description, but none of you are reading the descriptions. None of you. And I don't blame you. And that's why, like, people are like, "Oh, build out these descriptions." I'm like, no. For a card, you need to maybe state what it is and maybe state how you ship it or something, or condition or something. That's it. Like, you go beyond that.
Something different about your normal card you're shipping out. Like people are mentioning there.
Yeah, or if you got something like super oddball special where you wanted to point something out in the description, fine. But I believe your title is what matters. As long as you put all the right stuff in this title, no one goes to the description. They can see a picture, they can see the title, they're going to buy off of that.
Right.
Now you got like a bent corner, then somebody might go, I'm going to read that description and just see what he says about how the card, what the card is, or has a water spot on it, or whatever. But
I would agree with that. Like, you can, the standard card conditions, near mint or better, excellent, very good. that's all well and good. But if you're gonna say it's an excellent or very good, try to call out why. And I usually do that in the description because I want to be full disclosure as a seller, right? Like if there's a crease, if there's a corner that's significantly more bent or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't do you any good to not do that and try to deceive because they can just send it back.
Right.
Ask for a refund, leave you a negative. Like there's no gain for anybody in that. You put in the effort to list it and sell it and then ship it, and then you got to pay to ship it back. Like I don't get that. Just put what it is. If it doesn't sell, then you paid too much for it. I mean, that's on you, not a potential buyer.
And
that's why all vintage cards need to be listed individually. Each one needs its own photo. You can't put. I've got 20 of these columns worth rookies. There's just too much print quality. There's print dots. There's different colors on different cards depending on when it hit the screen, and centering, and I mean wax stains. It just, the list goes on and on and on and on and on.
But that opens up a discussion for maybe next time. What is vintage? Because it's always going to be changing. Is it 20 years? Is it a static year where there was significant change in the industry? That's kind of hard to qualify too. But
in my head, it's always been 1980 and before.
Yeah,
because
at some point it's going to be 90 and before.
Right. But once we hit 80, everybody knew to protect these things. That's when top loaders started coming out, and sleeves and special boxes and things like that. You'll find some pretty nice looking 80s cards, whereas the 70s and stuff before that,
that's fair.
It's a little trickier. It was a kid's product at that time.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. It's what defines that. Yeah, I mean, everybody might have a different number. A kid who's 13 years old might be like, well, anything before 2000 is vintage.
Right, exactly.
Because to him it is. So,
or
her, whatever. The vintage is I don't think that's an area you've really gotten into a whole lot yet, but that's a whole other game. I've been selling a lot of vintage for quite a while now, and I've had really good experience with it. I've never. One time I had one where a guy was like, "Oh, there's a little tiny crease right here," and it didn't show up in the photo. I'm like, I didn't see that either. You have so many cards, and you thumb through them, and you list them, and it's on a white cardboard, so it's really hard to see.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was like a $3 card or something. I'm like, oh, dude, you're right. He took a picture of it, sent it to me. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I sent it to you. I wish it was in better condition. Here's your money back.
That's all you can do.
So there's a few more, potential issues with this. But that being said, vintage is it's a great seller. You can sell commons. So you can buy basically any lot and get some money back out of it because there's so many set collectors for vintage.
Yeah.
They're great products. And I mainly do vintage football because I believe that market has a lot of room to grow yet.
Yeah.
You look at, mantle cards from the 60s, and they're insane.
Yeah.
And then you look at a second year Roger Staubach is like $25. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
That's so out of, and not that I'm comparing Roger Staubach to Mickey Mantle by any means, but two different sports, two different time frames, all that good stuff. But it feels like the elite, Hall of Fame historic players in football. Walter Payton is one of my best examples. Such a great human, and there's players who broke the color barrier in football that we don't really hear about. You hear about all the Jackie Robinson stuff, and I mean, he definitely deserves, his conversations as well. But I feel like football has a lot of room to travel in that area. So I like getting the vintage football. I do have some vintage baseball. I'll buy some here and there. It's expensive.
Yeah.
And the baseball buyers are really picky on condition. Like I can sell a Chris Collinsworth rookie, and I'm not going to get run down the rail for it generally.
That's a good segue though. The card hobbyist has a nice comment there, and I don't know that I agree with his approach on that. So he says he lists everything as excellent or better now. Might suppress sales, but he feels that near mint expectations are too high. So I've always heard from most dealers that I listen to that near mint or better means a grade 8 or better, which I don't feel an 8 or better is really that tough. Most of the
In
cards,
vintage, it is.
well, in vintage, yeah. So I was
Yeah.
gonna say, unless he's speaking just, or she is speaking just specifically to vintage, but I think about the cards I list, and the vast majority I do put near mint or better because most of my cards have only been exposed to, full air coverage
Yeah.
for 15 minutes in their existence, because
Yeah.
I would open them and I'd put them in the binders and
Mhm.
sleeves. And now when I'm in the budget boxes, the dollar boxes, then I'm a little more critical of them, and then I am more apt to list some as excellent or very good, just depending on how the edges and the corners are, if there's
Yeah.
a crease, if there's a smudge or something. I tell you, the one that I fight with the most is Topps Archives likes to do those black colored backings, and
Mhm.
you always see the little bits of white,
Yeah.
and it drives me absolutely crazy, because to me that it looks like an imperfection. When you look at it really close, it's like nothing happened negatively to show a little flecks of white. But when they use those colored backgrounds, they're
Yeah.
more susceptible to that little bit of flaking, it seems, and it drives me nuts.
So and my take on that is anything modern, if it's a condition sensitive card, right? So if it's like SP foils from the mid 90s,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put the condition on that card because that can be wild. That could be, if that thing's a PSA 10, it could be $5,000 for
Right.
a basic card, but more than likely it's a 6 and it's $10. you know, so that's kind of my take on like the more modern, if you want to call 90s modern.
Yeah.
Anything brand new, nah, I just listed near mint to mint.
Yeah.
Anything within the past 10, 15 years, I would list that way.
Sure.
But he's absolutely right. With the vintage, I list pretty much all of it excellent unless I know it's worse than that. I'll go poor or whatever. Take a good photo, put anything in there that you feel like needs to be in the title, like crease or stain or something like that, just to sort of put it out there right away, like, hey, this card is a good deal, but this is why. Don't just jump and hit buy it now thinking you're getting this mint copy for half price. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just making sure that your buyer understands what they're getting. And again, got to take a picture of every individual card of vintage. Unlike, you have 5 2022 Bowman Otanis, you just list, I've got 5 of these and let them one picture and let them get bought. No, they're all going to look very similar.
Right.
So, and even at that, sometimes you might be like, hey, this one looks a little different than the one in the picture. Maybe once in a great while you get burned by that, but not enough where it makes sense to list each one individually with a photo.
There have been times where I'll have 4 or 5 of the same card, and one of them in particular is significantly offset or something. I may pull that out and list that separately at a lower.
Yeah, clearly if it's out of bounds, right? Yeah. Or it might be a good enough rookie card where it has ding corners, but you still want to try to sell it. And sometimes I like that. Sometimes I'll intentionally buy, and I'm going kind of back to vintage now because you see it more, but sometimes I'll intentionally buy a lower grade vintage lot because there's buyers that just want a card.
Yeah.
So if I get a PSA 10, Ray Nitschke rookie, it's going to cost you $2,000. But I could get one with still a nice picture, but maybe some soft corners, maybe a little, wax on the back, or color isn't quite right, or a little off-centered, and I can get one for $10. That's in my budget, and I can still get that Ray Nitschke rookie
Right.
card.
Exactly.
So for those avenues, there's some people who just like, I just need that card for my set. That card's not important to me, so I'd rather pay $10 than $1,000.
Yeah,
that fits in my budget, and I can complete my set, and then I got $990 to go buy some cards for this other set I'm working on that matters more to me, or this higher player that I want to spend more on, or something like that. So
right.
Just because a card isn't mint doesn't mean you can't sell it. You need to get it for a cheaper price because you're going to have to sell it for a cheaper price. but you can still, make money on any of those cards.
Right.
So I am not a high-end seller. I am not going to go buy a Joe Montana PSA 10 for 65,000 or whatever the hell they're worth now, and try to find a buyer for that. That's not what I do. But I could buy a Joe Montana with some issues and it's not graded for $75,
Mhm.
and I can resell that. You see, I think it's just important to know, where your market is. The guy looking for the $65,000 card is not coming to my shop.
He's not going to
Right,
a
so-
store called the Dollar Box.
Right? Yeah. The millions of dollars box. And that's great. I mean, I'm glad there's a place for buyers like that, but I'm also glad there's a place for buyers like us who,
Right.
just want to have some fun in the hobby, make a little bit of money, improve our collections, go to shows, raid those value boxes, and just have a good time with it, and
Yeah,
make a few bucks while you're doing it.
absolutely.
But even if your sales just pay for your own hobby, that has good value.
That's a win.
You're not taking money out of your family budget, or out of other things that you could do with it. You're just turning your own money to have the hobby work for you.
Yeah.
So, but on that note, I think we should probably hang this up. We're at 2.5 hours tonight.
Yeah, I
I was
thought we
hoping
went
to keep
along
it under
last week.
2. I know, that's what I said. I'm like, oh, we got to stay under 2 this week. But I like this. Again, I appreciate everyone who tuned in. Those that are watching once this has been posted, thanks so much for sticking with us and watching. We'd like to continue this. We'll see you again next week. Does Wednesday work again next week, Charlie? Do you know off the top of your head, or we want to chat
It
later?
should. Wednesdays are a good night for me. I usually have some things Tuesdays and Thursdays, but Wednesdays are wide open. So.
Yeah, Luna has scouts on Thursday nights. I really like going to it and doing that stuff with her and the other kids. And Tuesdays are kind of going to be my whatnot show night.
Okay.
I've sort of decided. I don't think I'm going to do it every week, but I kind of want to leave it for that.
Yeah. Wednesdays
Mondays,
are good.
Luna has piano, and when you got kids, like, your nights aren't your nights. It's,
yeah.
Which is great, but I think Wednesday night seems to fit. It's in the middle of the week. There's not a lot else going on, and hopefully that helps our viewers to be able to tune in if they want to. So.
And I will get my technical issues fixed. Thanks for bearing with me.
We're trying to stream direct from YouTube because StreamYard works great. I've been happy with it. But YouTube offers you a few more options. You can post some link stuff in there. We can assign moderators. We can give them wrenches. So if we end up getting more chat participation, we can get some help with that. There's also the super chat option. So anybody who would want to support the channel, you can do that through that and get your chat up in lights, and get some extra participation that way. So. Hopefully we can eventually just do it right on YouTube. That's where I announce when our chat's going to be, and then I end up coming in off of a different platform. But I mean, it's direct to YouTube, obviously. Excuse me. But part of the fun when you're doing something new is figuring out the tech side, and
I'll get that squared away, though. We'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So without further ado, everybody have a great evening, day, whenever you're watching this. Just have a great time in the hobby, and keep digging through those dollar boxes.
Yep. Enjoy the hobby, everybody. Have a good night.